Chapter 1043. His boss had gone against everyone's wishes and made the decision on his own. He had no say in this at all. However, he had to bear all the blame now. He couldn't explain himself. He couldn't possibly say that it had nothing to do with him and that he should look for Ji Mingzhi. How could he have the guts to do that? Hence, when the others had come to ask for news, he had no choice but to swallow his tears and silently bear the blame for his boss. Lin Shuya was secretly observing Mei Lui's attitude. She was even more certain that Mei Lui had been the one who had made the decision. Lin Shuya and Han Yishuan walked over when they saw that Ji Mingzhi was done chatting with the people around him. "President Ji, we meet again?" Ji Mingzhi had finally managed to get rid of all the other bosses and was about to look for Lin Yan when Han Yishuan and Lin Shuya stopped him. His expression darkened instantly. The Han family had some business dealings with the Ji family's subsidiary company. He and Han Yishuan had only met for a few meals, so they hadn't had much interaction. During their last meal, Han Yishuan had mentioned that his fiancée, Lin Shuya, really liked their brand and hoped to endorse KNO. That was why Ho Yao had an impression of them. Han Yishuan exchanged some pleasantries before he probed, "I heard that your company has found a suitable spokesperson. Congratulations." "You're welcome." Ji Mingzhi's expression softened when he heard Han Yishuan congratulating him. Han Yishuan then shifted the topic. "However, there are some things that I'm not sure if I should say." Ji Mingzhi raised his eyebrows and glanced at Lin Yan from the corner of his eyes. Then he glanced at Han Yishuan casually and said, "Since Mr. Han doesn't think that it's appropriate, then don't say it." Han Yishuan hadn't expected Ji Mingzhi to be so unexpected. He was taken aback and coughed awkwardly. Lin Shuya broke the awkward silence. "President Ji, I really like your company's brand and I'm a loyal fan of KNO. KNO's spokesperson has always been a role model for me. She is a virtuous senior in the industry. However, I didn't expect that you would choose Lin Yan this time." Ji Mingzhi's eyes darted to her. "What's wrong with Lin Yan?" Lin Shuya seemed to be in a difficult position, as if there was something she couldn't say. At this moment, He Shanshan jumped out and said indignantly, "Cousin, what's there to hide? You only told President Ji this because you really like KNO." He glanced at Ji Mingzhi and said, "President Ji, you're a busy man, so you probably don't know much. You also don't know Lin Yan's background. Actually, she has a terrible reputation in the industry. Scandals are everywhere, and she even tried to get between Shuya's cousin and brother Yishuan. Most importantly, Lin Yan had only graduated from high school. How could she be qualified to endorse KNO? Which of the artists who endorsed KNO in the past wasn't highly educated, intelligent, and excellent in character?" Ji Mingzhi swirled the wine in his glass quietly, looking expressionless. However, when He Shanshan mentioned that Lin Yan had tried to get between Lin Shuya and Han Yishuan, he raised an eyebrow. "Did you just say that Lin Yan tried to get between Miss Lin and Mr. Han?" Ji Mingzhi asked softly. Chapter 1044. Yeah. Who doesn't know that Lin Yan has stolen my cousin's boyfriend? She has caused a commotion many times in the past. He Shanshan retorted confidently. Ji Mingzhi took a sip of his wine and chuckled softly. "I think there must be some misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding? How could there be a misunderstanding?" He Shanshan replied hastily. Han Yishuan coughed softly. "I'm sorry." Lin Shuya lowered her eyes and didn't say anything, but it was a tacit admission. He Shanshan quipped, "President Ji, if you don't believe me, you can read the news online. Everyone is objecting to Lin Yan's endorsement. They don't think that Lin Yan is fit to be the spokesperson of KNO. We're afraid that you'll be cheated since you've just arrived. I think Lin Yan must have used some underhanded methods and used your son's connection with the advertising director. For the sake of KNO's image, President Ji, you have to investigate this thoroughly. Otherwise, I'm afraid it will cause great damage to the reputation of you and your company." He Shanshan reminded Ji Mingzhi that Lin Yan had made a deal with the advertising director. Lin Shuya was satisfied that He Shanshan had managed to get to the point. It wasn't appropriate for her to say this personally, so He Shanshan was the one to do it. She didn't believe that Ji Mingzhi would announce Lin Yan as the spokesperson after he found out about her true colors and the rumors online. Perhaps Lin Yan would be snatched away before she could even be the spokesperson tonight. Under normal circumstances, Lin Shuya's words would definitely attract attention. However, it was a pity that they didn't know the truth. When Ji Mingzhi heard this, it was as if he had heard something funny. He lowered his eyes and smiled. Against the contrast of his peach blossom eyes, his well-defined face, which was comparable to a male model's, was even more captivating. Ji Mingzhi grinned as he scanned the three of them. "I'm really sorry. The spokesperson of KNO wasn't decided by Ming Rue, If it wasn't Mingrue, then who was it? Lin Shuya and He Shanshan looked at each other suspiciously. As the three of them pondered this, Ji Mingzhi added, if there is a deal going on in our company, perhaps there is. However, I was blinded by lust and went against everyone's wishes to appoint Miss Lin as KNO's spokesperson. The moment Ji Mingzhi finished speaking, He Shanshan felt as though someone had grabbed her by the throat. Her eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Lin Shuya and Han Yishuan were also stunned. They stared at Ji Mingzhi as their faces paled. They couldn't believe what Ji Mingzhi had just said. What did Ji Mingzhi just say? He had been blinded by lust, so he had stood his ground and chosen Lin Yan as his spokesperson? Ji Mingzhi was the one who had asked Lin Yan to be the spokesperson? When Lin Shuya, He Shanshan, and even Han Yishuan heard Ji Mingzhi's reply, they were still in a daze. They had guessed that Lin Yan must have used her connections in KNO. However, they had never imagined that Lin Yan would have used Ji Mingzhi's connections. Ji Mingzhi glanced at Han Yishuan and Lin Shuya, who didn't seem to notice his mocking gaze. He continued unhurriedly, Lin Yan rejected me? Why would she try to snatch Miss Lin Shuya's boyfriend? This is really interesting. Han Yishuan's face turned as black as the bottom of a pot when he heard Ji Mingzhi, while Lin Shuya's face turned ashen. Chapter 1045. Azure Dragon, who was tall and slender, bent down to size up the girl who was pretending to be calm. Although Lin Yan was puzzled by Azure Dragon's actions, she didn't dare ask further. This man's evolution level was too high. If she and Wu Yu fought him, they wouldn't be able to fight back at all. If he wanted to kill her and Wu Yu, it would be as easy as crushing an ant. As Azure Dragon sized up Lin Yan was secretly observing him as well. Although Azure Dragon's expression was calm, there was a complicated glint in his eyes from time to time. Wu Yu stood at the side, not daring to breathe loudly. He was puzzled as he watched Azure Dragon treat Lin Yan. Is that you? Azure Dragon suddenly asked softly after some time. Lin Yan was taken aback when she heard Azure Dragon. Her expression turned strange. She didn't understand what Azure Dragon was saying, but the way he was looking at her was getting stranger and stranger. Is that you? Azure Dragon pressed on when Yan didn't respond. Me? Lin Yan pointed at herself. Yes, I'm talking to you. Azure Dragon nodded. Lin Yan couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. Could Azure Dragon have recognized the wrong person again? How should she answer? Under such circumstances, should she tell Azure Dragon, yes, you're not mistaken, it's me? According to normal logic, that should be the safest way. What should she do after that? Or did Azure Dragon think that she was the owner of the laboratory? However, on second thought, that didn't make sense. This place was the Hunters Guild's prison, and the owner of the laboratory was in cahoots with the president of the Hunters Guild. If the two of them had a good relationship, Azure Dragon wouldn't have been locked up here. Lin Yan shook her head hurriedly. It's not me. I'm not. You've got the wrong person. Azure Dragon straightened his back and sized Lin Yan up. You look like an old friend of mine. Lin Yan smiled awkwardly. She didn't just look like an old friend of Azure Dragon's. She also looked like an old friend of Si Bai and Bai He. She was used to it. If my old friend hadn't died, he would have been around your age, Azure Dragon told Lin Yan after some time. Lin Yan glanced at Azure Dragon speechlessly. In the end, she couldn't help but blurt out, the person you mentioned. Is she your daughter? What did he mean by, if she's not dead, she should be around my age? It sounded like he was reminiscing about his daughter. Azure Dragon's face was expressionless as he asked softly, what's your name? Lin Yan. Lin Yan answered honestly. Her name is Nine Phoenix, said Azure Dragon. 9 phoenixes? Lin Yan was astonished. Are you talking about a member of the Mountain Sea clan? The 9 phoenixes of the Mountain Sea clan? How did you know? The Azure Dragon asked again. Lin Yan was speechless. Mountain Sea is too famous. Although it has disappeared, I'm also an evolved being. It's normal for me to have heard of it, explained Lin Yan. That's true, Azure Dragon said thoughtfully. Maybe I've lived in this place for too long, and I've lost track of the outside world. Before Lin Yan could reply, Azure Dragon's gaze swept into the distance. The man who came with you should know where the exit is. You can leave. Both Wu Yu and Lin Yan were startled when they heard that. Without giving Lin Yan a chance to speak, Azure Dragon added, from the moment he dug the dog hole to the moment he found the exit, he did it right under my nose. I naturally know what you want to do. End of this chapter. Chapter 1046. The rest of them had wanted to persuade Ji Mingzhi, but when they saw his attitude, they shrank back in fear. They could only watch anxiously. Ji Mingzhi didn't want to waste time talking to them. He straightened his collar and sleeves and strode over to Lin Yen. The higher-ups could only watch anxiously. What should we do? Do you think boss will change his mind? Things have already come to this. I don't think boss will be so reckless. However, they had no choice but to wait and see Ji Mingzhi's attitude. On the stage, the host had finished his speech and was inviting Ji Mingzhi to speak. In an instant, everyone's attention was on Ji Mingzhi. The closer Ji Mingzhi got to Lin Yen, the more unsteady his steps became. He forced himself not to lose his composure. In the end, he managed to maintain his elegant demeanor as he strode over to Lin Yen. Lin Yen was so careless that even the people around her could vaguely sense that Ji Mingzhi's gaze was burning. However, she didn't realize that Ji Mingzhi was looking at her differently. When Ji Mingzhi approached her, Lin Yen felt that he looked familiar. She wondered where she had seen him before. Ji Mingzhi finally stopped in front of Lin Yen. His palms were drenched in sweat as he stared intently at the girl before him. He was afraid that she was just an illusion. Then he said softly, "Long time no see." Lin Yen blinked her eyes in confusion. What did he mean by long time no see? Had they met before? Ji Mingzhi's face stiffened when he noticed that Lin Yen looked at him as though he was a stranger. Lin Yen thought that she had heard wrongly when Ji Mingzhi remained silent. Hence, she took the initiative to greet her sugar daddy. "Hi, President Ji. It's our first time meeting. It's an honor to work with your company." Ji Mingzhi felt as though a pail of ice water had been splashed on his face. He stood there in a daze. He looked confused, helpless, and aggrieved. He looked like a puppy that had been forgotten by its owner. "Don't you remember me?" Ji Mingzhi clenched his fists as his heart ached. He had never thought that the white moonlight that he could not forget for so many years had actually completely forgotten about him. Lin Yen was even more confused when she heard this. However, she didn't know how to beat around the bush, so she instinctively asked, "President Ji, do we know each other?" Ji Mingzhi. This time, Ji Mingzhi's heart was truly broken. Ji Mingzhi took a deep breath to calm himself down. He lowered his head and smiled bitterly. "It's okay. It's good to get to know each other again." After that, Ji Mingzhi looked at the girl in front of him with a burning gaze. He extended his hand to her and said, "Let me introduce myself. I'm Ji Mingzhi, your future business partner. I'm very happy that you can endorse Kano." Lin Yen shook Ji Mingzhi's hand politely. Ji Mingzhi subconsciously tightened his grip on the girl's hand, but he didn't dare to go too far. He only tightened his grip a little and then immediately let go. "Miss Lin, please," Ji Mingzhi said in a gentlemanly manner. Lin Yen nodded slightly and walked to the stage with Ji Mingzhi. Thus, under everyone's watchful eyes, the two of them stepped onto the rather exaggerated red carpet made of rose petals. Chapter 1047. Lin Yen frowned when she heard Si Bai's explanation. After the laboratory's transformation, even their appearances could be the same? Si Bai, who could sense Lin Yan's confusion, said, "As far as I know, high-level laboratories have the strongest genetic modification. However, there's something strange. The demonists didn't have such a modification technology back then." "Unless..." Si Bai sized Lin Yen up. "Unless what?" "Unless you have a twin sister. There's a chance of achieving the same effect," said Si Bai. "I really don't have one. Why don't I ask my mom?" "If I do, I'll definitely tell you," Lin Yen replied helplessly. "I believe you. You can let me go now," said Si Bai. "Let you go?" Lin Yen stared at Si Bai and made a decision in a few seconds. She untied the ropes on Si Bai's body. Si Bai, who had regained his freedom, glared at Lin Yen and said coldly, "You're naive. I said it casually and you let me go. Aren't you afraid that I'm acting? Firstly, you might not be able to defeat me. Secondly, I have a very strong helper. Even if I can't defeat you, you have to think about whether you can walk out of this basement." Lin Yen smiled at Si Bai without the slightest fear. "Lin Yen, you're indeed courageous. It was my fault for not investigating the matter clearly. Even so, you must have some connection with that demoness," said Si Bai. "It's up to you whether you believe me or not. Anyway, I don't know her. Besides, she kidnapped my friend." "I won't let her off," replied Lin Yen. "Very well, I believe you. We have a common enemy now, but I'm still unwilling to give up." Si Bai's eyes were cold. What's wrong now? Lin Yen felt increasingly helpless. Why did he act like a child and need her to coax him? "I have a good relationship with Xiao Yao. He actually betrayed his friend for you." "He's not human," said Si Bai. Lin Yen could only laugh and muddle through this matter. Otherwise, why would she scold Xiao Yao with him? She would be too cruel and unscrupulous. "Lin Yen, what's wrong with this woman?" Si Bai glanced at the white-veiled woman. Lin Yin didn't hide anything and told Si Bai everything that had happened. This matter is definitely not simple. She probably captured your friend because she wants to use your friend's genes as a mother to create an even more powerful evolver. I'm afraid you don't have the ability to save your friend, Si Bai said. Wang Jingyang? A powerful mother? The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. She couldn't associate Wang Jingyang with a powerful mother. Besides, Wang Jingyang wasn't an evolved being. I still have some personal matters to deal with. Consider it as me owing you a favor for harassing you for so long. Before Lin Yan could speak, Si Bai had already left. After Si Bai left, Lin Yan began to interrogate the white-veiled woman about Wang Jingyang's whereabouts. However, the white-veiled woman's mouth seemed to be made of iron. Lin Yan tried all sorts of methods but she couldn't make her speak. She had no choice but to force Bai He to stay so that he could continue interrogating the woman. She left the mansion and headed to the mall. She wanted to buy something for He Muyun and ask her about the twins. I'm sorry, Lin Yan, who was carrying bags of various sizes, was thinking about the demoness. She accidentally bumped into someone, causing the bags to scatter all over the floor. It's okay. The man was wearing a custom-made suit. He was tall and slender, and he seemed to exude a sense of coldness. However, the moment his eyes landed on Lin Yan, an indescribable gentleness surfaced in his eyes. Sister, long time no see. End of this chapter. Chapter 1048. Do you know how you got in? Azure Dragon asked Lin Yan calmly. Lin Yan instinctively shook her head. She only knew that she had been captured by the Hunters Guild, but she had no idea who had done it or what method they had used. Someone used a special method to bring you in with your car, Azure Dragon told Lin Yan. Special method. Lin Yan was deep in thought. Just what kind of special method could bring her to such a godforsaken place without her noticing at all? Azure Dragon scrutinized Lin Yan for a moment before he said, it's a special drug that targets evolved beings. There's still the smell of the drug on your body. I reckon that someone drove the car and while you were unconscious. Lin Yan was speechless. She had actually entered like this? No wonder Lin Yan had felt dizzy when she had just woken up. Under normal circumstances, she wouldn't have slept for so long. Before Lin Yan could speak, Azure Dragon added, coincidentally, you made quite a commotion when you came in. I was nearby. The person who brought you in was a woman. I don't think she has anything to do with the Hunters Guild, but she looks like you. Lin Yan frowned deeply when she heard Azure Dragon. Wu Yu was shocked as well. It was obvious that the woman Azure Dragon was talking about should be the demoness and mistress of the laboratory. Lin Yan was surprised. If what Azure Dragon had said was true, why would the mistress of the laboratory go through so much trouble to capture her? That woman who looks like me. Do you know her? Lin Yan's eyes landed on Azure Dragon. I know a little but I'm not familiar with her. However, you should have some relationship with her, replied Azure Dragon. Many years ago, when Nine Phoenix was still young and the Mountain Sea realm was still around, a woman who looked exactly like Nine Phoenix had appeared and attacked her. Azure Dragon had seen that woman once. Her eyes were filled with hostility, and she was completely different from Nine Phoenixes. It wasn't difficult for Azure Dragon to tell the truth. She has something to do with me. Why didn't I know? Lin Yan looked puzzled. You have to investigate this yourself. If you have a dashcam in your car, you can see what happened when you get out, said Azure Dragon. Lin Yan's eyes flickered. Why hadn't she thought of the dashcam? Are you really not leaving with us? Lin Yan asked Green Dragon after some time. She still couldn't believe that there was someone who was willing to stay in this godforsaken place. If I want to leave, no one can stop me. Perhaps one day we will meet again. I hope that at that time you will be the person I know. The Azure Dragon waved his hand. Lin Yan was speechless. Let me give you one last piece of advice, Azure Dragon said slowly. It's very dangerous out there. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. It's more dangerous here. After Lin Yan and Wu Yu left, a young man approached Azure Dragon and said softly, it seems like the Heavenly Hound was right. Her ability is very special. She can erase the source of pain in her memories. That's why she doesn't even remember us. Yes. The Azure Dragon nodded. Why don't you tell her the truth? If she forgets, we can help her remember. Since her ability has already helped her make the decision to forget, why should we bring up the past? She should know the meaning of happiness now. Why should we disturb her rare peace? End of chapter. Chapter 1049. Wu Yu and Lin Yan sneaked into the basement without any obstructions. Lin Yan, who had been a little nervous, calmed down after following Wu Yu. Wu Yu was sneaking around. After confirming that the basement was safe, he waved at Lin Yan and gestured for her to follow him. There was a conference table in the basement, and beside it was a long leather sofa. Perhaps it was because of the humidity, but the surface of the sofa was a little moldy. Fortunately, there's no one here. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to leave today. Wu Yu smiled at Lin Yan. Lin Yan knew that there was no one here. If there had been someone, they wouldn't have been able to sneak in so easily. The two of them arrived at the door of the basement. Wu Yu pushed hard, but the door didn't budge. There's no key. Wu Yu frowned. Get up. Lin Yan glanced at Wu Yu and rolled up her sleeves. Big sister, what are you trying to do? Wu Yu was puzzled by Lin Yan's actions. My fist is the best key. Lin Yan strode to the door and punched it with her fist. A dull thud reverberated in the basement, but the metal door wasn't broken. Lin Yan's punch didn't even cause any substantial damage to the metal door. Wu Yu covered his ears and stared at Lin Yan in astonishment. He hurriedly said, Big sister, are you crazy? What if others are alerted by such a huge commotion? Lin Yan had wanted to punch the door a few more times, but she didn't know what material the door was made of. The door wasn't broken, but her old bones were about to fall apart. Big sister, don't move. Let me do it. Wu Yu hurriedly stopped Lin Yan. Wu Yu hadn't expected that Lin Yan, who looked gentle, would be so violent in her bones. Wu Yu took out a silver needle from his pocket, and in less than a dozen breaths, the metal door was easily opened by Wu Yu. Lin Yan was dumbfounded by his actions. This fellow was simply a master thief. Why didn't you say so earlier if you had such an ability? Lin Yan glanced at Wu Yu. The corners of Wu Yu's mouth twitched and he looked aggrieved. My dear sister, you wanted to tell me, but you rolled up your sleeves and hit the door. You didn't give me time to say anything. Lin Yan stroked her chin. Can you open the lock with your hair? Wu Yu, who was taken aback, stared at her strangely. Sister, have you watched too many movies? Lin Yan was speechless. Let's go. Lin Yan's expression changed when she heard footsteps behind her. She immediately rushed out with Wu Yu and closed the door behind her. Behind the door was a flight of stairs that looked like a pavilion in the sky. The two of them carefully walked up the stairs. About a quarter of an hour later, the two finally saw flat ground. Where is this? Wu Yu looked around. This place. Lin Yan frowned as she surveyed her surroundings. She would never forget this place. This was the laboratory that he and his younger brother had been caught in. But why would the underground prison that the Hunters Guild used to imprison evolved humans be built under this laboratory? Could it be that this laboratory belonged to the Hunters Guild? Of course, this was merely Lin Yan's guess. If the Hunters Guild was in cahoots with the Demoness, the owner of this laboratory might be the Demoness as well. The laboratory had long since been abandoned. There were cobwebs everywhere and the laboratory was covered in dust. Chapter 1050. Before Lin Yan could mull over this, he called. After leaving the prison, Lin Yan's phone finally had a signal. Lin Yan answered his call almost immediately. Senior sister, is that you? Say something. His voice came through the phone. It's me, Lin Yan replied softly. Senior sister, where did you go? You were gone when I came back. I couldn't get through to you. I was so worried. Are you all right? Did you meet a robber? Did you tell them my name? Lin Yan was speechless. I'll settle the score with you when we get back. Lin Yan hung up. This little bodyguard wasn't doing his job at all. Fortunately, he had met Green Dragon, a member of the Mountain Sea Guild. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he had died. Big sister, let's go. We can't stay here for long. If we meet the Hunters Guild and that Demoness, all our efforts will be in vain. Wu Yu hurriedly spoke up when he saw that Lin Yan was in the mood to tour the dilapidated laboratory. Lin Yan nodded and left with Wu Yu. This was a blessing in disguise. At least she had some information about the laboratory. If it had nothing to do with the Hunters Guild, then the Demoness was most likely the owner of the laboratory. The laboratory was built in the deep forest of a remote mountain village. The two of them walked from day to night before they saw the road. Big sister. Suddenly Wu Yu called out to Lin Yan. Lin Yan glanced at Wu Yu in confusion. As the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. Let's part ways here. Do you have money? Give me some. Wu Yu smiled brightly. I'll take a taxi for dinner. Lin Yan instinctively shook her head. No. Wu Yu was speechless. Sister, give me some. We've been through thick and thin together, Wu Yu said. Lin Yan pondered it for a moment before she replied, we can go through thick and thin together. We can also go through thick and thin together. Wu Yu smiled. Then, I don't have money. Lin Yin shook her head. Sister, why are you so stingy? Do you think I'm someone who needs money? You borrowed it from me. I'll pay you back 5 times. Wu Yu replied. Lin Yin pondered for a moment. Wu Yu didn't seem like someone who needed money. 10 times, replied Lin Yin. Wu Yu was taken aback. He had never imagined that Lin Yin would be such a person. Fine. I want cash. Just leave me your phone number or any other contact information. I'll contact you later. Lin Yin had brought some cash with her. Initially, she had wanted to lend Wu Yu $1,000. However, when she realized that she had to repay him tenfold, she gritted her teeth and gave Wu Yu $2,000. Wu Yu, if you don't contact me and return my money? Lin Yin gazed at the smiling Wu Yu intently. I will definitely find you. Think about the consequences yourself. I've seen stingy people before. Sister, this is the first time I've seen someone so stingy. Wu Yu sighed as he took the money from Lin Yan's hands. Immediately, Wu Yu hailed a taxi and got in without looking back. Don't forget to contact me. Lin Yin couldn't help but warn Wu Yu. After Wu Yu left, Lin Yin hailed a cab as well. Lin Yin whipped out her phone. His phone was connected to his car's dashboard recorder, so he could see everything that had happened while he was dozing off from his phone. Lin Yan's heart ached again. She had left her car in that godforsaken place. She had spent a lot of money to buy it. Chapter 1051. A reporter asked jokingly, President Ji, you said that Miss Lin was your first love. What about now? What is your relationship now? Ji Mingzhi seemed a little nervous as he studied Lin Yin carefully. Speaking of our current relationship. If she wants to, we can become the boss of Kano anytime she wants. Wow. Everyone gasped in shock when they heard Ji Mingzhi. This was a public confession. It was such a domineering confession. At that moment, everyone finally understood why the event had been so romantic and dreamy. President Ji had probably intended to confess right from the start. Although Ji Mingzhi might have been a little selfish, Lin Yin was indeed qualified. Hence, his selfishness had become romantic and affectionate. Naturally, no one would say anything about it. Everyone else was looking at the romantic confession. Lin Yin, who had been confessed to, felt her heart freeze over. Duo had jinxed it. She actually hit the nail on the head. Although it wasn't a wedding scene, this confession scene was pretty much the same. However, Lin Yin couldn't reveal that she already had a boyfriend. She could only maintain a stiff smile as she stood there. The press conference finally came to an end. Lin Yin was about to leave when the overseas returnee strode over to her excitedly. Miss Lin, I didn't expect to see you here. My brother is your fan. He talks about you every day when we were in school. Could you sign an autograph for me? Of course. Lin Yin coughed to clear her throat as she helped the executive sign a piece of paper that she had found. Thank you. The overseas returnee looked grateful. My brother must be very happy. I didn't expect you to be so pretty and talented. You're welcome. Lin Yin was chatting with the overseas returnee when Ji Mingzhi strode over. He glared at the overseas returnee with an unfriendly expression. What are you guys talking about? Why are you so happy? When the executive saw Ji Mingzhi, he immediately left. It's nothing. My brother admires Miss Lin very much, so I asked Miss Lin to give me an autograph. Since it's done, I won't bother you anymore. He didn't have the guts to poach Ji Mingzhi's woman. Whoever had the guts could do it. After the higher-ups left, Ji Mingzhi's expression immediately returned to being perturbed and nervous. Do you remember me now? Lin Yin looked embarrassed and guilty. Could she say no? She didn't remember these unimportant things in the first place, not to mention that some of her memories were missing because of the car accident. Ji Mingzhi glanced at Lin Yin, who seemed a little dejected. You still haven't? Forget it. Anyway, it wasn't a good memory. We can start afresh. I meant what I said earlier. So, can you give me a chance? Ji Mingzhi was so direct that Lin Yin didn't know how to answer him. She had no choice but to tell him the truth. Well, although I haven't made it public, I already have a boyfriend. Hearing this, Ji Mingzhi's face stiffened, but he quickly recovered and said with a normal expression, Actually, I expected it. After all, you're so outstanding. But it's just a boyfriend. As long as you're not married, I still have a chance, right? I can compete fairly. Chapter 1052. Lin Yin had wanted to use this to make Ji Mingzhi give up. However, she hadn't expected that he wouldn't mind at all. In fact, he seemed even more determined. There was nothing wrong with what he had said, so Lin Yin couldn't refute him. Fortunately, Zhao Hongling and Duo walked over. Ji Mingzhi's assistant seemed to have something to discuss with him. so Ji Mingjie reluctantly left. The moment Ji Mingjie left, Duo hugged Lin Yan excitedly. Oh my god. Oh my god. Sister Yin, you graduated from MIT. You're Ji Mingjie's junior. You're hiding it too well. You didn't even tell us. You're too much. Plenty angrily complained. Lin Yan rolled her eyes at her. Baby, please recall carefully. When did I hide anything from you? Didn't I tell you clearly that I have a master's degree from MIT? Lin Yan had said this not too long ago, so Duo recalled it easily. She was rendered speechless by Lin Yan's words. She blinked her eyes in shock. How would I know that you were telling the truth? I thought you were joking with me. Lin Yan grinned teasingly. When have I ever lied to you? Plenty carefully thought about it. It seemed like there really wasn't. Almost every time she thought that Lin Yan had said something unbelievable, it would turn out to be true. Duo looked horrified. Sister Yin, you're too scary. Are you sure you're not hiding anything from me? Lin Yan rubbed her nose. I don't think so. She was about to lose all her disguises. Yeva and Pei Yuqing were her final stubbornness. After Kano's fashion event, Kano's president confessed to Lin Yan at MIT, and Kano's president's first love were all trending topics. The people who had used Lin Shuya to oppress Lin Yan and mocked her changed sides instantly. Lin Shuya had always proclaimed herself to be a genius, yet she had become a joke in front of Lin Yan. Lin Shuya is merely an art student who graduated from the Imperial Film Academy. How dare she brag about being a top student? Even MIT didn't say anything about it. That's the world's publicly acknowledged hardest exam, the holy temple of science and engineering. What's a real big shot? That's the real deal. He has such an amazing educational background, but he's never used it to show off. I'm just curious. Why did Lin Yan choose such an obscure major? Does she want to specialize in aeronautics and astronautics? This is the real-life version of wanting to ascend to the heavens. Because not many people knew about this profession, they did not think about racing for the time being, nor did they continue to dig. Most people's focus was still on the scandals and gossip. I'm a fan of Kano Seo. I almost thought that he was the kind of person who was obsessed with sex, but now I actually feel that he's easy to spoil. Did you see his expression when he said that Lin Yan was his junior? Yes. They're so cute. I suddenly feel like they're a good match, right? When Lin Yan returned to the villa that night, she shuddered in fear as she read the trending topics and comments online. Pei Yutong must have seen the gossip online, so he had called her several times. Needless to say, he had to be asking about this matter. Lin Yan didn't pick up his calls as she was feeling vexed. Instead, she sent him a message to warn him not to tell Pei Yuqing. Fortunately, Pei Yuqing wasn't in the country, so the news wouldn't spread so quickly. She would have to think of a solution first. Mini drama, Ji Mingjie typed, Lin Yan and I can become Kano's owner if she wants to. Pei Yuqing flung his marriage certificate at him. Sorry, she's already Kano's owner. Chapter 1053. At night at Cloud Manor, one could vaguely hear the sound of two kittens snoring in the room. Lin Yan had fallen into a deep sleep on the bed. Lin Yan's clothes were drenched in cold sweat as she tossed and turned in pain. Perhaps it was because she had suffered too much at the news conference that she had suddenly had a nightmare in the middle of the night. Countless fragments of memories formed a complete image that invaded Lin Yan's mind. The scene in her sleep was unimaginable. The little girl had been thrown into the deep sea, and endless darkness enveloped everything. There was no warmth in the cold seawater, and the powerful water pressure seemed to be able to squeeze the girl into pieces at any time. Just as she was in despair, a certain killer whale swam over at an extremely fast speed and rushed out of the deep sea with the little girl. The girl coughed violently, looking extremely pathetic. There was only seawater around her, and under the moonlight, the surface of the seawater glowed strangely. From time to time, huge fish would fly out of the water and land in the ocean, stirring up countless waves. On land, yellow sand stretched for thousands of miles. A group of young men and women walked in the desert. This group of young men and women was wearing a uniform cloak, and each of them emitted a powerful aura that made one tremble in fear. As these people walked, a strong aura gathered as though it could devour the world. The surrounding storm rolled up the yellow sand, and dark clouds shrouded the area. From time to time, thunder would appear. However, this extremely bad weather didn't pose any threat or confusion to these young men and women. An invisible barrier enveloped everyone, and the strong aura emitted from the men and women was enough to easily disperse the storm. Occasionally, some caravans that were transporting evolved beings passed by. When they saw the clothes on these young men and women, their expressions changed drastically and they hurriedly changed directions. Mountain Sea? What is Mountain Sea? F***CK. You don't even know what Mountain Sea is? Mountain Sea is a group that is very famous in the evolved beings circle. It's a very mysterious organization. Many evolved beings have been swallowed by them, but their reputation among low-level evolved beings is very high. There aren't many members in Mountain Sea, but each of them is at least an S+ evolved being. Any one of them is enough to stir up a storm in the evolved being circle. I heard that the most recent person to join the Mountain and Sea realm is the leader of the third heaven, Lord Xiaoji, who was given the codename by Zhe. Don't talk nonsense, it will bring about a fatal disaster. Every member has a fixed code name. Currently there's Tengu, Vermilion Bird, Black Tortoise, White Marsh, Torch Dragon, Kirin, Bifeng. Just remember these code names. As for their true identities, it's best not to make wild guesses. In the storm, the girl was wearing a black cloak. It was as if she could hear everyone's voice at will. Wizard, you're being too ostentatious. Even the ordinary caravans know that Wizard of the mountains and seas is the first of the three firmaments. After a long while, the girl spoke to a handsome man. Yin. Xiaoji looked at the expressionless little girl in the cloak beside him. There was only coldness in her eyes. It was impossible to tell that she was a child of 6 or 7 years old. Those eyes seemed to have experienced countless years. As soon as the man opened his mouth, the girl frowned deeply. Bai Zhe, have you forgotten the rules? Mu Yang looked at Xiaoji with a faint smile. Every member of the mountains and seas didn't have a name, only a code name. Now the girl's code name in the mountains and seas was Jiufeng, not Mu Yan. Understood. Xiaoji chuckled softly. In the yellow desert, the figures of the mountains and seas gradually faded away. Chapter 1054. At Cloud Manor, Lin Yin suddenly opened her eyes and gasped for breath. There was a faint layer of luster on her body. The memories in her dream had been extremely clear, but as the light appeared, everything seemed to be forgotten. F***. Lin Yin got up swiftly and walked to the mirror. In the middle of the night, the luster on Lin Yan's body was especially dazzling. What's going on? Countless doubts surfaced in Lin Yan's mind. She didn't understand what had happened. However, the white luster seemed to be conscious. When it realized that Lin Yan had woken up, it gradually dissipated. Perhaps because the luster had dissipated, the memories of her dream had been preserved. Sister Yin? Ling Yu immediately rushed into the room when she heard the commotion in the room. During this period of time, Ling Yu had been very cautious. She was afraid that the people from death would come back. Xiaoya, look at me. Lin Yin hurriedly said when she saw Ling Yu. Ling Yu stepped forward and scrutinized Lin Yin from head to toe. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Sister Yin, what's wrong? Ling Yu asked, puzzled. Can't you see that my body is glowing? Lin Yin looked excited. Smart. My evolved power is about to awaken. Or am I going to evolve again? Huh? Ling Yu looked at Lin Yin suspiciously. Sister Yin, there's no light on your body. Lin Yin hurriedly checked her reflection in the mirror. However, previously, the luster on her body had really disappeared, as if it had never appeared in the first place. That's strange. There was really light on my body just now. I swear, Lin Yin muttered to herself in confusion. Sister Yin, have you been too nervous because of death? Asked Ling Yu with a grin. Why would I be nervous? Lin Yin replied nonchalantly, I'm not afraid of them. Ling Yu was speechless. She pretended that she hadn't said anything. At that moment, Lin Yin couldn't help but recall the dream. This dream had been so realistic that she had thought it was real. Unfortunately, a mysterious luster had suddenly appeared on her body, making her forget a part of it. She had forgotten the name of the mysterious and terrifying organization in her dream. She only remembered Tengu. It seemed to be played by the dog. So why would she dream of Guzi? I had a dream just now. It was a very realistic dream. Then a white light appeared on my body. I remembered the details of the dream, but after the white light appeared, I forgot a lot. Lin Yan's expression was odd. The corner of Ling Yu's mouth twitched when she heard that. She must be muddle-headed from sleep. I dreamed of a little girl. I think her name was Jiu. There were also many powerful evolved beings. They had a team. They were called Sea. I think they were called Sea and Sky. Lin Yan mumbled to herself. Ling Yu immediately laughed out loud. Sister Yin, I've only heard of the mountain sea. What is the sea sky? Soy sauce? Asked Lin Yin instinctively. Ling Yu, Xiaoya, what are mountains and seas? Lin Yin was curious. Sister Yin, it's normal that you don't know about the mountain sea. Many evolved beings don't even know about it. Ling Yu grinned. Tell me about it, Lin Yan said excitedly. At the moment, Lin Yan was very interested in everything related to evolved beings. To us, it should be a very old organization. It happened many years ago. I was still young back then, replied Ling Yu. Is it also a team of evolved beings? Asked Lin Yan. Yeah, it's a very terrifying and powerful organization. I heard that there aren't many people, but they are very famous. Ling Yu nodded. Chapter 1055. How about compared to death? Asked Lin Yan. There's no way to compare them. They're different in nature. Death is a powerful force with many evolved beings. On the other hand, Mountain Sea is a super elite team. There aren't many people in total, but every single one of them is comparable to the demoness of death, replied Ling Yu. They're that powerful? Lin Yan was astonished. I don't know much about it, but I've heard a little about it before. The Shanhai clan is very mysterious. Although there aren't many of them, no one knows exactly how many of them there are. No one knows how strong they are either. However, there have been a few very famous battles. The most exaggerated one was when the Shanhai clan destroyed a very ancient clan of evolved humans with a record time of 3 hours and 27 minutes. Lin Yan was speechless. Ling Yu's words were inconceivable to Lin Yan. A team is actually so powerful. It took them more than 3 hours to destroy an evolved being clan? Lin Yan was impressed. Ling Yu was slightly taken aback. She shook her head and grinned. Sister Yen, who said that it was a team. Only 2 members of Mountain Sea managed to destroy an evolved being clan in 3 hours and 37 minutes. I think their code name is Torch Dragon and the other one is called Baize. Lin Yen was astonished. That terrifying? Fortunately, they had offended death and not Mountain Sea. Sister Yen, Mountain Sea is my childhood idol. When I was young, I was very excited every time I heard Mountain Sea's story. Ling Yu grinned. Why? Asked Lin Yan. Although the Mountain Sea clan is feared by many large forces, the Mountain Sea clan is very good to the low-level evolved beings and has helped many small clans that have been bullied by the large clans. Moreover, every member of the Mountain Sea clan is extremely good-looking. If it were today, I reckon that they would be able to beat up all the little fresh meats. Ling Yu laughed. Lin Yan glanced at Ling Yu. She had almost forgotten that Ling Yu used to be the big boss of Summit Entertainment. You've seen them before? Lin Yan asked in surprise. I've only seen one member. His code name is Yinglong. He's especially good-looking, replied Ling Yu. Is he prettier than Pei Nanshu? Asked Lin Yan curiously. You can't compare it that way. I'm talking about his aura. Sister Yen, do you understand? It's hard to describe. Just his aura alone can make you forget about his looks. Besides, Yinglong is also very good-looking, replied Ling Yu. Lin Yan looked puzzled as she stroked her chin. I understand now. Understand what? Ling Yu asked subconsciously. If I'm not mistaken, Mountain Sea will choose its members based on their looks, replied Lin Yan. Ling Yu glanced at Lin Yan speechlessly. She had to admit that Sister Yan's imagination was too wild. How could such a team of evolved beings choose their members based on their looks? Is such a terrifying evolved being still around? Asked Lin Yan curiously. I'm not sure. I haven't heard of them for many years. They probably aren't around anymore. Maybe they disbanded, Ling Yu said. Xiaoya, are there any more powerful evolved beings? Tell me about them. Lin Yan grinned. Since she couldn't fall asleep after waking up, she might as well listen to the secrets of evolved beings that Ling Yu knew. After all, she was also an evolved being, so it would be strange if she didn't know anything. After chatting with Ling Yu for a few hours, Lin Yan let Ling Yu go. At dawn, Wang Jingyang called Lin Yan. Chapter 1056. The content of the call was that Wang Jingyang wanted to treat her to breakfast. Lin Yan agreed readily. She was a jerk who wouldn't take advantage of an opportunity like this. Early in the morning, Lin Yan drove to the breakfast place near Wang Jingyang's place. Lin Yan, over here. Wang Jingyang smiled and waved at Lin Yan from afar. Lin Yan strode over and fell into deep thought when she saw the soybean milk, fried dough sticks, and buns on the table. She didn't seem to have gained any advantage. It wasn't even enough for her fuel. Have a seat. Let's eat together. The buns and youtiao here are delicious, said Wang Jingyang with a smile. Lin Yan nodded and sipped on her soy milk. Did you look for me so early just to have breakfast with you? Lin Yan glanced at Wang Jingyang. I have something to discuss with you. The corners of Wang Jingyang's mouth curled up. What is it? Asked Lin Yan. Lend me some money? Wang Jingyang said. Lin Yan was speechless. I treated you like a good brother, but you actually asked me, to borrow money. Lin Yan, damn you. Don't be so stingy. It's not like I won't return it to you. Besides, didn't you just accept the endorsement for K&O? You don't have money? Wang Jingyang panicked when he saw Lin Yan's expression. Why do you need money? Asked Lin Yan. I have something to do. I have to go on a long trip. Don't I have to buy a plane ticket? Don't I have to stay in a 5-star hotel? Don't I have to eat a 3-star Michelin restaurant? Wang Jingyang frowned. Go eat your ice cream. Lin Yan glared at Wang Jingyang. I've never been so extravagant in my life. How dare you ask me for money to dine at a Michelin restaurant? I don't have any money. Hee, lend me some. I really have something to do, Wang Jingyang said. What do you want? Just say it. Otherwise, I won't lend it to you, replied Lin Yan. It's all because of you. You scared me to death that night. I want to travel and relax, Wang Jingyang said. Lin Yan was speechless. Really? Lin Yan asked curiously. Hearing this, Wang Jingyang nodded. Really? If what Wang Jingyang said was true, then she certainly had some responsibility. Scan the QR code, replied Lin Yan. Wang Jingyang was startled when he saw the amount. *CK. That much? I can't afford it. Who told you to pay me back? I saved this money for you. I'm keeping the rest here for your wedding. If it's not enough, I'll make up for it. Lin Yan grinned. Wang Jingyang was puzzled. You saved it for me? What else can I do? You spend so much money. If I don't cheat you, you'll spend it all. How will you get a girlfriend and get married in the future? Lin Yan replied matter-of-factly. Wang Jingyang almost burst into tears. He had never imagined that Lin Yan would have cheated him of so much money all these years. Thank you so much. After breakfast, Lin Yan drove Wang Jingyang to the airport. Are you going on a vacation now? Lin Yan was taken aback. Wang Jingyang sighed. I've wanted to travel for a long time, but I never had the money. Heavenly Hound, be careful outside. Lin Yan grinned at him. The expression on Wang Jingyang's face changed when he heard Lin Yan. What did you call me? Wang Jingyang glanced at Lin Yan. Heavenly Hound, doesn't it sound nice? Lin Yan grinned. Wang Jingyang's body trembled slightly, and his eyebrows furrowed. Lin Yan. What? Why did you call me that? Wang Jingyang asked. Heavenly Hound was his code name in Mountain Sea. Chapter 1057. Back in Mountain Sea, his nickname had been Heavenly Hound. Other than Heavenly Hound, there had been Torch Dragon, Winged Dragon, Bai Zai, Qilin, Bai Fong, Black Tortoise, and Vermilion Bird. To Wang Jingyang, these memories seemed to be as old as a few eras. After all these years, no one had called him Heavenly Hound. The era that belonged to them had come to an end. It had been ended by someone. Doesn't Heavenly Hound sound nice? Lin Yan grinned at Wang Jingyang. Let me tell you something. I had a dream last night. In my dream there was a team called Ocean Sky. You were one of us. Your name is Heavenly Hound. Ahahaha. Ocean Sky? Wasn't it Mountain Sea? And then? Wang Jingyang gazed at Lin Yan expressionlessly. And then I woke up. You wouldn't believe me if I told you that my body was glowing. Soon the light disappeared, quipped Lin Yan. Wang Jingyang was speechless. Wang Jingyang naturally knew that Lin Yan was talking about light. It was one of Mu Yan's abilities. This ability could automatically adjust one's emotions. If one's emotions were fluctuating too much, this ability would make Lin Yan calm down quickly. If she was in so much pain that she couldn't even adjust her emotions, then the source of the pain would be cut off. When Mu Yan experienced the pain of losing her life, all her painful memories would be cut off. Mu Yan had more than one ability. Each of her abilities was unique, and this uniqueness had become misfortune. Otherwise they wouldn't have ended up in such a state. Hence, her ability was beautiful, but it was also cruel. Wang Jingyang studied Lin Yan as though he was deep in thought. Why would this happen? Would she appear in a dream after her memories were cut off? Be careful. I'm going home to catch up on my sleep. Lin Yan waved at Wang Jingyang. Have a safe trip. Let me hug you. Wang Jingyang grinned at Lin Yan. Lin Yan was startled. Why are you so disgusting? Do you want to part ways with me forever? Before Lin Yan could retort, Wang Jingyang hugged her gently. I'm leaving. Don't cause any trouble. Wait for me to come back to play games with me. Wang Jingyang hesitated for a moment before he said, Oh yeah, actually, I think K&O is a good lad. Why don't you consider changing your boyfriend? As long as it wasn't Pei Yuqing, anyone else would do. Lin Yan's face darkened. I don't have any plans for now. Thank you for your concern. After all, she had already made up her mind. How could she still be half-hearted? Sigh. All right then. Wang Jingyang sighed heavily as though he had expected Lin Yan's reply. He turned around and strode into the airport. On the plane, Wang Jingyang took out an ancient-looking ring from his bag. A totem of the Tengu was engraved on the ring. Old friend, long time no see. Looking at the ring, Wang Jingyang smiled and put it on his middle finger. Tengu returned. M Nation. In the desert in front of a huge palace. Wang Jingyang wrapped himself in a black cloak so that his face could not be seen clearly. Wang Jingyang's appearance instantly caused an uproar. In the blink of an eye, dozens of evolved beings appeared and surrounded Wang Jingyang. When they saw Wang Jingyang's black cloak, the few elders who came out of the palace were shocked. Shanghai. Impossible. He's a member of Shanghai? To evolved beings at their level, the name Shanghai resounded like thunder in their ears. Shanghai's terror wasn't limited to a single member, but to every member. In fact, after so many years, no one knew that their master, the leader of the three firmaments, Xiaoji, was once a member of Shanghai. Who are you? An elder stepped forward and stared at Wang Jingyang in bewilderment. However, Wang Jingyang didn't speak. He merely raised the ring on his middle finger, which was engraved with the Tengu pattern. Chapter 1058. Tiantian. Tiantian. Tiantian? The Mountain Sea Heavenly Hound. The old man gasped as though he was facing a formidable enemy. The Mountain Sea Heavenly Hound was one of the strongest members of the Mountain Sea realm and an evolved being with absolute power. Perhaps many people had already forgotten about the Mountain Sea realm. However, they were old evolved beings, so how could they not know about the existence of the Mountain Sea realm? Is Xiaoji dead? If he's not dead, ask him to come out and see me, Wang Jingyang said. Sir Xiaoji? The old man frowned as he told Wang Jingyang, Sir Xiaoji has been gone for a few days. He's not here. Every time I look for you, you're not here? Wang Jingyang muttered to himself. Before the elder could say anything else, the Mountain Sea Celestial Hound disappeared from where it was, as if it had never been there in the first place. The old man heaved a sigh of relief after Wang Jingyang left. The Mountain Sea Heavenly Hound is still here. The Mountain Sea Heavenly Hound. Why is he looking for Sir Xiaoji? Could Sir Xiaoji and the Mountain Sea Heavenly Hound know each other? Another old man frowned. He had unintentionally seen a similar ring in Xiaoji's room, but it had been carved with a Baizhe totem. Somewhere in Country M, in the huge manor, Wang Jingyang appeared like a ghost. At the Pei family's residence, Wang Jingyang entered the manor as though there was no one around. After observing for a long time, he locked onto Pei Yuqing's location. Creak. Wang Jingyang opened the door to the study. In the study, Pei Yuqing adjusted his glasses gently and continued to read the book on the table without lifting his head. You're a guest. Please help yourself. Mr. Pei, you didn't ask why you're here. You're relaxed and confident. Wang Jingyang chuckled softly. What's your purpose then? Pei Yuqing put down his book and glanced at Wang Jingyang. Mr. Pei, do you want a bigger commotion or a quieter one? If you want a quieter one, follow me. Wang Jingyang turned around and left the study. Before long, Wang Jingyang arrived at a deep forest near the Pei family's residence. Pei Yuqing followed behind him casually. How far do you want to go? Pei Yuqing asked softly. This place is perfect. Wang Jingyang turned around and glanced at Pei Yuqing. Aren't you interested in my identity, Mr. Pei? Wang Jingyang smiled. It's the totem of the Mountain Sea. I just don't know if it's real or not. However, you were able to sneak into the Pei family without a sound. Perhaps the totem of the Mountain Sea is real, Pei Yuqing said as he studied the embroidery on the man's clothes. Pei Yuqing naturally knew about the Mountain Sea. Many years ago, it had intimidated too many large families. Even the Pei family had once been terrified by the Mountain Sea. However, after so many years, there had been no news of the Mountain Sea sect. Even Pei Yuqing had assumed that the Mountain Sea sect had ceased to exist. However, he hadn't expected that someone with the Mountain Sea sect's insignia would come looking for him at this very moment. If you are really a member of the Mountain Sea realm, I would like to know who you are. Pei Yuqing stared at Wang Jingyang intently. Immediately, Wang Jingyang raised the ring on his middle finger. When he saw the ancient ring on Wang Jingyang's finger, he couldn't help but frown. Tengu Totem Mountain Sea Celestial Hound? The legendary Paragon genetic evolver. I've long heard of the Tengu. Why don't you remove your Mountain Sea sect attire and let me see your true face? Pei Yuqing asked. Wang Jingyang chuckled softly. Mr. Pei, I'm not here to make friends with you. I'm here today to borrow something from you. Chapter 1059. Do you want to borrow my life? Pei Yuqing asked calmly. Mr. Pei, you are indeed smart, Wang Jingyang said. Pei Yuqing's face was expressionless, and his voice was emotionless. He merely stared at Wang Jingyang quietly. Pei Yuqing didn't remember having any conflict with the Mountain Sea clan, nor did he know about the grudge between him and the Heavenly Hound. However, the Heavenly Hound had suddenly visited and asked to borrow his life. Pei Yuqing was puzzled. Pei Yuqing, actually, I can't bear to kill you, but I have no choice. Wang Jingyang's tone was filled with complicated emotions. You can't bear to? Pei Yuqing frowned at Wang Jingyang's words. Since the two of them had never interacted, why would he not bear to kill him? Pei Yuqing, I'm going to attack. I'll give you 3 seconds to prepare, Wang Jingyang suddenly said. Pei Yuqing stood rooted to the ground. 3, Wang Jingyang counted softly. 2, 1. A gust of wind blew as Wang Jingyang rushed toward Pei Yuqing at a speed that was almost invisible to the naked eye. With every step he took, a deep pit appeared under Wang Jingyang's feet. The ground around him cracked, and the cracks spread in all directions like thin snakes. In an instant, 2 terrifying evolved beings collided with each other, and a muffled rumble echoed in the air. Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, Wang Jingyang rushed to Pei Yuqing's side. He raised his palm and slammed it down. A thunderous whistling sound was heard, and it was terrifying. Wang Jingyang then blasted his palm at Pei Yuqing. Dust flew up from the ground, and the boulders nearby shattered. The 2 destructive evolved beings intertwined, and the air roared, sending everything around them flying. Boom! A loud sound echoed within a radius of 100 meters. Wang Jingyang's strength was indescribable, but as his palm landed, an invisible wall appeared around Pei Yuqing. Wang Jingyang's palm landed on the wall, and the air seemed to freeze. A genetic evolved being is indeed terrifying. Pei Yuqing glanced at Wang Jingyang and spoke expressionlessly. Pei Yuqing, your defense is extraordinary, Wang Jingyang commented. Not only that. Pei Yuqing's eyes flashed with lightning as he spoke. Immediately after, the ground beneath Wang Jingyang's feet suddenly cracked, and a strange flame quickly surged out from the depths of the ground. Wang Jingyang's reaction was also extremely fast. He instantly dodged the attack of the earth core fire and dodged to the side. Controlling the power of nature. Wang Jingyang murmured. It wasn't easy to fight with an evolved being like Pei Yuqing for too long. Otherwise it would be disadvantageous for him. The best way to fight was to approach quickly and end the battle in the shortest amount of time possible. Break. Wang Jingyang muttered softly as he clenched his fist and punched the wall of air around Pei Yuqing. Rumble. Under Wang Jingyang's almost unparalleled attack, the invisible air wave completely collapsed, and the sound of a mirror shattering rang out in the void. It's over. Wang Jingyang grabbed Pei Yuqing as fast as he could. Not yet. Pei Yuqing didn't panic at all. In Wang Jingyang's hand, his entire body and his clothes strangely turned into quicksand. Wang Jingyang frowned when he saw this. A few seconds later, Pei Yuqing appeared in his original position, unscathed. Instant illusion? Wang Jingyang was deep in thought. The moment he grabbed Pei Yuqing, he fell into the illusion that Pei Yuqing had created. Oh my god, I'm finally done writing. I'm going to collapse. I have to sleep for a day and a night. Chapter 1060. Wang Jingyang studied Pei Yuqing thoughtfully. It was indeed unbelievable that he had fallen into an illusion. Pei Yuqing's brain had evolved to a terrifying level. However, he wasn't sure if he was stronger than Bai Zhe. Wang Jingyang sighed heavily. This had been a sure thing, but it was a pity that every time he looked for Bai Zhe would drop the ball. If Bai Zhe had come with him today, Pei Yuqing wouldn't have been able to survive. Wang Jingyang was an extremely pure genetic evolved being, so his mental power couldn't be compared to an evolved being like Pei Yuqing. If this dragged on, the situation would be disadvantageous to him unless he could last until Pei Yuqing exhausted his mental power. However, this wasn't realistic. Wang Jingyang didn't hesitate at all. He charged at Pei Yuqing with the aura of an ancient beast. When he was close to Pei Yuqing's eyes glinted. In an instant, Wang Jingyang felt as though he had been struck by lightning. The powerful mental attack made his soul tremble. Wang Jingyang's face was ghastly pale, and blood trickled down the corner of his mouth. You have no chance of winning? Pei Yuqing stood with his hands behind his back. He didn't seem to move a single step as he watched Wang Jingyang quietly. Is that so? Wang Jingyang chuckled softly. Before Pei Yuqing could reply, Wang Jingyang suddenly said, Aren't you curious why I'm here to kill you? Pei Yuqing replied expressionlessly, There's no need to ask. I only need to know that you're here to kill me. Since you have the intention to kill me, I won't let you leave alive today. Pei Yuqing, you're too conceited. Do you really think that I can't do anything to you? Wang Jingyang chuckled softly. What do you think? Pei Yuqing replied calmly. A second later, the corners of Wang Jingyang's mouth curled up. In an instant, a violent pressure emerged from Wang Jingyang's body. In fact, Wang Jingyang seemed to be surrounded by lightning. Pei Yuqing stared at Wang Jingyang with a hint of caution in his eyes. The current Wang Jingyang was like a completely different person compared to the Wang Jingyang from before. The difference between them could only be described as heaven and earth. Swoosh. Suddenly Wang Jingyang disappeared from where he stood. Black afterimages flickered around him, and a fierce astral wind swept past. Pei Yuqing furrowed his eyebrows as Wang Jingyang disappeared from his sight. Even Pei Yuqing's mind power couldn't track Wang Jingyang's whereabouts. I'm here. Wang Jingyang's voice rang in Pei Yuqing's ears. An indescribable fist force came from Pei Yuqing's back. It was like the aura of death chilling to the bone. A second later, Pei Yuqing's body transformed into countless birds that flew in all directions. Wang Jingyang knew that he had fallen into Pei Yuqing's illusion again. Immediately, Wang Jingyang closed his eyes and used his elbow to strike fiercely to the left. Bang! When the illusion dissipated, Pei Yuqing staggered backward after being hit by Wang Jingyang. At the same time, Pei Yuqing's mental strength erupted like a bolt of lightning and enveloped Wang Jingyang. A few seconds later, Wang Jingyang and Pei Yuqing's eyes met. Blood trickled down the corners of their mouths. What a pity! After some time, Wang Jingyang furrowed his brows. It had been a good opportunity, but he hadn't succeeded. Instead, both of them had been injured. Now that Pei Yuqing was prepared, it would be difficult for him to succeed. End of this chapter. Chapter 1061. If he wanted to kill Pei Yuqing, he would have to raise his first gene to the maximum. However, if he really did that, he would suffer a great deal of damage. There was no need for that, whether it was the limit of the first gene, the second gene, or even the third gene, they were all specially prepared for that person. Wang Jingyang hadn't expected Pei Yuqing's evolved power to be this strong. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to do anything to Pei Yuqing if he used the first gene as a warm-up. Wang Jingyang struck again. As long as he got close, he could still kill Pei Yuqing easily. Pei Yuqing's eyes darted around when he saw Wang Jingyang attack. In a few breaths, his eyes seemed to turn into a vortex. Endless earth core fire surged from the ground, and the surroundings seemed to have turned into a nation of fire. Pei Yuqing stood in the middle of the earth core fire as though he was the ruler of the fire. What? Are you serious? Wang Jingyang asked with a faint smile. You do have the right to do so. Pei Yuqing replied calmly. Pei Yuqing's eyes turned crimson as endless mental power surged out like the surging waves of the sea, burying Wang Jingyang in an instant. Wang Jingyang stood rooted to the ground, looking a little dazed. He had fallen deeply into Pei Yuqing's illusion and couldn't move. Pei Yuqing moved his fingers gently. The scorching earth core fire from all directions rushed towards Wang Jingyang at the same time. The temperature of the earth core fire was enough to melt metal. Pei Yuqing watched calmly as everything happened. It was over. Just as Wang Jingyang was about to be engulfed by the earth core fire, an icy chill surged out. Wang Jingyang shuddered and escaped from Pei Yuqing's terrifying illusion at the last moment. The scorching temperature made Wang Jingyang sweat profusely. He leaped away and escaped from the earth core fire. Phew. That was close. The corners of Wang Jingyang's mouth curled up as he chuckled softly. Thank you. Pei Yuqing didn't continue attacking. Instead, he glanced in a certain direction and said softly, You are a guest. Show yourself. Pei Yuqing's eyes trailed off as the wheelchair began to turn. A handsome man was sitting in the wheelchair. The man was wearing a snow-white suit, and his temperament was extraordinary. You are also a member of the Mountain Sea sect? Pei Yuqing's eyes landed on Xiao Ji as he spoke expressionlessly. I was, Xiao Ji said softly. The next second, Xiao Ji's gaze fell on Wang Jingyang. Long time no see. It's good that you're here. Help me restrain his mental strength and I'll get rid of him, Wang Jingyang said to Xiao Ji. However, Xiao Ji smiled and said, Not interested. Not interested? Wang Jingyang glanced at Xiao Ji. Hearing this, Xiao Ji sighed, I have something to discuss with you. Come with me. Wang Jingyang's eyes trailed to Pei Yuqing, but he wasn't done yet. Let's go, Wang Jingyang said. As Wang Jingyang was about to leave, Pei Yuqing's mental strength surged like a tsunami. Looks like you don't plan on letting me go, Wang Jingyang said with a smile. He had come with murderous intent, so Pei Yuqing wouldn't let him go just like that. No one knew Pei Yuqing better than him. Bai Zhe, you might have to wait for a while. If you're not going to make a move, get lost and watch the show. Don't get too close. Don't get in my way. I'm afraid of hurting you. Wang Jingyang grinned. Xiaoji didn't seem to care about Wang Jingyang. He merely glanced at Pei Yuqing and said softly, Mr. Pei, do you think you can stop the two of us? Perhaps I can try, Pei Yuqing replied expressionlessly. Mr. Pei, you can't stop us. Even if Tengu is alone, you won't be able to stop him either. He has already unlocked the third gene. Are you planning to perish together with him? Perhaps I think that Tengu only needs to unlock the second gene, and Mr. Pei won't be able to stop him, Xiaoji said. The third gene? Pei Yuqing's eyes glinted when he heard Xiaoji. End of this chapter. Chapter 1062. A high-level evolved being like Pei Yuqing naturally knew about rank 3 genes. However, Pei Yuqing had only heard about it. He didn't know much about the evolution of genetic evolvers. The evolution of a level 3 gene was an extremely dangerous process. It was divided into 3 stages and was known as a level 3 gene. If one could completely control a rank 3 gene, then the evolver would have the terrifying power to destroy the world. Of course, if an evolved human wanted to unleash the power of a rank 3 gene, they would have to pay a terrible price. Unlocking the first gene was equivalent to a warm-up. With the activation of the first stage gene, the ancient gene cells in the body would gradually awaken, and the combat strength would increase exponentially. However, after releasing this power, the body of the evolver would also suffer a certain amount of damage. When the body was damaged to the limit, the second gene evolution could be unlocked. Following the unraveling of the second gene evolution, the evolver's battle prowess would once again increase by several tens of times. The ancient gene cells would also completely awaken within the evolver's body. Of course, for an evolved person, once the second gene was activated, the damage to their body would be irreversible. In the best-case scenario, their evolution power would be crippled, and in the worst-case scenario, they would die on the spot. After unlocking the third-tier gene, the ancient genetic cells in the body would start to burn, and the evolver would have the power of a god for a period of time until the cells were completely burned out, and the evolver would die. The evolution of a third-level gene was extremely dangerous and difficult. Pei Yuqing had never heard of anyone who had managed to activate a third-level gene. Just as Xiaoji had said, Pei Yuqing might not be able to stop him if he started the Phase 2 gene plan. Even if they managed to block it, once Wang Jingyang started the third gene evolution, there was only one possibility for the two of them: mutual destruction. Apart from mutual destruction, there was no third possibility. Pei Yuqing's eyes flickered as he watched Wang Jingyang. If the Mountain Sea Celestial Hound were to activate his second gene, then the Mountain Sea Celestial Hound would most likely die on the spot. Since that was the case, the Celestial Hound would not stop there. Since he was going to die anyway, he would definitely activate his third gene and kill both of them. Pei Yuqing's face was expressionless as he calculated whether he could kill the Mountain Sea Heavenly Hound before it could activate its second gene. Otherwise, once Tengu activated the second gene, the consequences would be unimaginable. In all these years, this was the first time he had realized that someone could pose such a threat to him. Not only that, but the man in the wheelchair was not a kind person either. Mr. Pei, you and I have never interacted before, but I was once a member of the Mountain Sea clan. If you continue to attack the Heavenly Hound, you will be facing 2 members of the Mountain Sea clan. If the Heavenly Hound goes crazy and unlocks the second gene, the 2 of you will die together. If there isn't a blood feud, I don't think there's a need for things to escalate to this point. The handsome man in the wheelchair chuckled. Since the 2 of you are so confident, why don't you give it a try? Coincidentally, I have never seen an evolved being activate a third gene, Pei Yuqing said excitedly. Pei Yuqing's eyes darted to the distance. The Pei family had arrived. Just as Pei Yuqing's attention was drawn to the members of the Pei family, Wang Jingyang and Xiaoji disappeared. Pei Yuqing, I haven't had enough fun today. Let's fight again next time. Wang Jingyang's laughter came from afar. Chapter 1063. Outside a huge palace in the barren land of Country M, Wang Jingyang arrived in a wheelchair. Sir. Many evolved beings rushed forward when they saw Xiaoji in the wheelchair. Sir, you in Mountain Sea? An old man stepped forward and looked at Xiaoji and Wang Jingyang strangely. Leave, Xiaoji said softly. Yes. In the palace, Wang Jingyang was drinking tea that Xiaoji had brewed. How is Jiufeng? Xiaoji asked after a long time. How is she? Wang Jingyang gulped down the tea in his cup. You and Jiufeng have been in China all these years, Xiaoji said thoughtfully. Who told you that we were in China? Wang Jingyang retorted. Really? I've seen that video. Xiaoji smiled. Wang Jingyang was speechless. It's all that little fatty's fault. The one who secretly took pictures was a disgrace. Bai Zhe, you should stay away from Jiufeng. She is very dangerous. Wang Jingyang sighed. All the more reason for me to go, Xiaoji said. Aren't you afraid of death? Wang Jingyang frowned. Death? Hearing this, Xiaoji smiled faintly. In this world, who can kill me? Wang Jingyang's eyes landed on Xiaoji's legs. It seems like you have evolved to the extreme. Xiaoji replied calmly, this broken body can no longer withstand the power of my evolution. When evolved beings with brains reached a higher level of evolution, their bodies naturally couldn't bear it. Most evolved beings with brains were very weak, especially when their mental strength became stronger and stronger. Sooner or later their bodies would collapse. Of course, evolved beings with physical bodies didn't have such worries. For example, Wang Jingyang's physical fitness had reached the limit. Bai Zhe, what do you think, if we combine our powers with my body and the power of your mind? Wang Jingyang clicked his tongue. Xiaoji was speechless. You have a rich imagination, Xiaoji said calmly. Besides, little Jiu liked Pei Yuqing very much. Aren't you afraid that she will be sad if she finds out that you killed him today? Xiaoji glanced at Wang Jingyang. I'm more afraid that she will die, Wang Jingyang said expressionlessly. You should know my relationship with Pei Yuqing. Best brother? Xiaoji looked thoughtful. So you don't want Pei Yuqing to see your true face? He's already met me in China but he didn't recognize me. Wang Jingyang laughed. Without giving Xiaoji a chance to speak, Wang Jingyang pressed on. Why didn't you help me today? If it was you, your mental strength wouldn't be weaker than Pei Yuqing's. If you had helped me restrain him as long as I got close to him, Pei Yuqing has already mastered the power of nature. He isn't that easy to deal with? Xiaoji quipped. If I remember correctly, you've already mastered the force of nature. That's just an excuse. Wang Jingyang said, therefore there's only one reason why you didn't help. You're afraid that Nine Phoenix will be sad. You're afraid that she will blame you after she remembers everything? Or do you think that Nine Phoenix will never help you repair your crippled body again? Xiaoji didn't speak. He just stared at Wang Jingyang quietly. Bai Zhe, don't tell me that the reason you want to get close to the nine-headed phoenix now is because you want to borrow the nine-headed phoenix's power to repair your body and achieve your goal of conquering the entire world. All along, hasn't your goal been to trample all the evolved beings in the world under your feet? Unfortunately, you can't do it because, no matter how strong your mental strength is or how high your evolution level is, your body will never be able to withstand your power. Chapter 1064. On the chair, Xiaoji didn't speak but just looked at Wang Jingyang quietly. Bai Zhe, do you agree? Wang Jingyang asked. After a moment of silence, Xiaoji said lightly, in the old days Wang Shetong Chenyan flew into the homes of ordinary people. Bai Zhe, you were too ambitious. Wang Jingyang stared at Xiaoji. I don't believe you. In the past, Xiaoji had a formidable force of evolvers, and he himself was an extremely powerful evolver with a strong brain. Wang Jingyang thought that he had some understanding of Xiaoji. How could such a person put himself in danger for Mu Yan? You should know how I feel about little Jiu. After a long time, Xiaoji said softly, you said you like little Jiu, but I always think that you just like little Jiu's ability. Wang Jingyang said, are you jealous? Suddenly, Xiaoji said in a meaningful tone, jealous? As Xiaoji's voice fell, Wang Jingyang suddenly frowned. He didn't know what Xiaoji meant by saying this. You like little Jiu? Xiaoji said thoughtfully. Me? Wang Jingyang stared at Xiaoji. Are you crazy? What nonsense are you talking about? She is my sister. That's why you are jealous. Because of this relationship, you are deprived of the right to like her. Xiaoji said expressionlessly. Shut up. How could I like my sister? Wang Jingyang's eyes suddenly showed a trace of gloom. How pitiful. Xiaoji stared at Wang Jingyang and said lightly, let's talk. Suddenly Wang Jingyang stepped forward and instantly came to Xiaoji's side. He grabbed Xiaoji's collar. Hearing the noise, more than a dozen evolved people rushed in. Seeing Tengu of the Mountain Sea do such a thing to their master, these evolved people were suddenly angry. Even if you are a member of the Mountain Sea, this is not a place for you to behave atrociously. An old man shouted sternly. Suddenly Xiaoji said coldly, Master, I will continue. Xiaoji glanced at the old man. Helpless, these evolved humans could only retreat. Soon, Xiaoji's eyes landed on Wang Jingyang once more. You're jealous, but you've been suppressing it. You reject everyone who likes little Jiao, including me and Pei Yuqing. It's a pity that you don't have a reason to attack me. Otherwise, you might use some other reason to get rid of me. In the end, it's all because of your jealousy. Wang Jingyang didn't say anything, but the fierceness in his eyes grew more and more obvious. Of course, you have the chance now. No matter how strong I am, you can easily get rid of me if you get close to me, said Xiaoji. Why would I want to get rid of you? Little Nine doesn't like you at all, Wang Jingyang said expressionlessly. Really? Xiaoji spoke casually. Even if I can't love her, you don't even have the qualifications to love her. Tell me, aren't you very sad? Boom. As Xiaoji's voice fell, Wang Jingyang threw a punch. In an instant, it was as if a natural disaster had arrived, and the entire palace was shaking. The wall behind Xiaoji had already been blasted into snow-white powder. See, I am my sister. I just want her to be able to live simply. Wang Jingyang released Xiaoji's collar. Chapter 1065. If that's the case, you should help me. Xiaoji glanced at Wang Jingyang. Help you? Why should I help you? Wang Jingyang sneered coldly. Because we have the same goal. Xiaoji glanced at Wang Jingyang. You should know that Pei Yuqing is not little Jiao's way out. At this point, Wang Jingyang was slightly stunned. Actually, you know this better than anyone else. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come all the way here to kill Pei Yuqing. Even though you used to be the best of brothers, he betrayed you, didn't he? Xiaoji said softly. Wang Jingyang's eyes glinted coldly when he heard Xiaoji. Xiaoji was right, his once best brother had given them the most ruthless knife. Xiaoji added when Wang Jingyang fell silent. Actually, you don't have to think of ways to get rid of Pei Yuqing. There is a very simple and direct way. What way? Wang Jingyang asked. As long as little Jiao leaves him, everything will be solved, Xiaoji replied. Pei Yuqing glanced at Xiaoji. You make it sound too easy. So you help me. I can make little Jiao leave him. Xiaoji chuckled softly. You. How do you do it? Use your mental strength to hypnotize him? Wang Jingyang rubbed his chin and pondered. Actually, with your ability you can really do it. Yes, you can hypnotize little Jiao and make her hate him. Then she can leave Pei Yuqing. Xiaoji was speechless. Am I wrong? Wang Jingyang frowned when he saw Xiaoji's expression. I won't do that and I don't want to do that, Xiaoji replied. Then why? Wang Jingyang was puzzled. An open and above-board competition. Xiaoji chuckled softly. It doesn't matter if I can win or not. At least I have never compromised with fate. I welcome all powerful competitors. It can be you, Pei Yuqing, or anyone else, Xiaoji replied. You should give up. Didn't I help you when she was racing in the M Nation? How did you court her? Wang Jingyang sneered coldly. Hearing that, Xiaoji was slightly stunned and couldn't help recalling the past. She said that her hands and feet were useless and that it would take her a long time to practice horizontal drifting. Do you remember what you said? Wang Jingyang glanced at Xiaoji. Xiaoji, tell me. Since it's so useless, then don't practice it. Wang Jingyang sneered. Xiaoji, that's right, there was another time when little Nine told you that she had a fever. What did you say? Wang Jingyang sneered. You said it's only 40 degrees. It's fine, it's the body that's getting rid of the bacteria. Did I say something wrong? Xiaoji asked Wang Jingyang in confusion. Hearing this, Wang Jingyang looked at Xiaoji and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. How could this kind of person have a girlfriend? Ah, Baize, don't even mention chasing little Nine. If I were a girl, you wouldn't even be able to chase me. Do you believe me? Wang Jingyang coldly laughed. Even if you are a woman, I am not interested in you. Xiaoji said lightly. Chapter 1066. Xiaoji glanced at Wang Jingyang thoughtfully and said softly, So you think there's something wrong with the way I'm pursuing little Jiao? Wang Jingyang chuckled softly and shook his head. There's nothing wrong with the way you're pursuing little Jiao. I think there's something wrong with your brain. Something wrong with my brain? Xiaoji frowned. Why do you think so? Wang Jingyang was speechless. What I said earlier was useless. I don't think I have anything in common with you. Don't even think about pursuing little Jiao. Think about how you can get your own child in the future. I think this is your most serious problem now. Wang Jingyang glanced at Xiaoji. How could he pursue little Jiao with such a brain? He might be fine in his dreams, but he was destined to be single for the rest of his life. I don't think there's anything wrong with the way I'm pursuing little Jiu. Perhaps it's because she likes Pei Yuqing more, Xiaoji said after pondering for a moment. Wang Jingyang was speechless. Wang Jingyang strode to Xiaoji and patted his shoulder gently. Even if there's no Pei Yuqing, all the men in the world are dead. Even if there's only you, little Jiu, and a dog left. Before Wang Jingyang could finish, Xiaoji said softly, "Are you trying to say that she would rather choose a dog than me?" Hearing Xiaoji's words, Wang Jingyang looked surprised. I suddenly became smarter. I'm not used to it. No wonder little Jiu has been avoiding me and never replied to my messages, Xiaoji said thoughtfully. You've already told her to die once. Who else would she hide from if not you? Wang Jingyang sneered coldly. Besides, you know little Jiu's character. You took her to the most expensive restaurant when you treated her to a meal. Don't you know how much it cost? You ran away when you were paying the bill. Do you still remember that? Wang Jingyang glanced at Xiaoji. Xiaoji nodded. Yes, but you taught me to do something special to make her remember me and have a deep impression of me. The corners of Wang Jingyang's mouth twitched when he heard Xiaoji. This guy must be doing this on purpose. I'm right, but did I ask you to run away? Wang Jingyang sneered. Does she remember me? Does she have a deep impression of me? Xiaoji asked expressionlessly. Wang Jingyang, goodbye, I'm going back. Wang Jingyang found that if he continued to talk with Xiaoji, Xiaoji might really beat him up. Wang Jingyang had to admit that Xiaoji's IQ was indeed very high. Baizhe represented the brains of the mountains and seas. However, Wang Jingyang could not understand why Baizhe, who had a high IQ, had such a low EQ. She had asked him to do some special things to leave a deep impression on little Jiu. She had asked him to do some romantic things, but she had never asked him to run away when he was paying the bill. That time was still fresh in Wang Jingyang's memory. It had almost caused little Nine to go bankrupt. Wang Jingyang was about to leave, but then he thought about it and came back. He looked at Xiaoji and smiled. Brother Zhe, lend me some money, borrow money? Hearing this, Xiaoji frowned slightly. What do you want money for? Wang Jingyang looked at Xiaoji and said, go home. I borrowed money from little Jiu, but I couldn't help but use it all up. Now I only have a dozen yuan on me. Can you lend me some so I can buy a ticket home? Chapter 1067. Don't you even have money? Don't you even have money? Xiaoji's expression was a little strange. Do you know that you're asking for a beating? Wang Jingyang looked at Xiaoji. Is it so easy to earn money? Is it not easy to earn money? Xiaoji looked more and more puzzled. Wang Jingyang was speechless. Wang Jingyang swore that the man in front of him had a really low EQ compared to his two younger brothers. His EQ was worlds apart. If such a person could have so much wealth, why was he so poor and only had a little more than 10 yuan? Don't talk nonsense. Lend me some money, Wang Jingyang said. No, Xiaoji said faintly. No? Wang Jingyang was stunned. He really didn't expect Xiaoji to refuse. We've been friends for so many years. You don't even want to lend me a plane ticket? Wang Jingyang was surprised. Yes, no, Xiaoji said. Are you sure? Wang Jingyang stared at Xiaoji. Are you going to lend me money or not? What? Judging from your attitude, are you going to rob us? Xiaoji asked. Rob me? Wang Jingyang was stunned and immediately sneered. Do I need to rob you? I'm just not like you. What's the use of earning so much money? If I wanted to earn money, I would also have endless wealth. But you don't even have the money to buy a plane ticket home now, Xiaoji said. Of course, it's not a problem if you want me to lend you money unless you help me. Xiaoji continued. Stop dreaming. I won't help you. Wang Jingyang sneered. You will, Xiaoji said. I won't, Wang Jingyang said. In China, a helicopter landed slowly. Wang Jingyang and Xiaoji walked out of the helicopter. This is where little Jiu lives now. Wang Jingyang pointed to Cloud Manor in the distance and said impatiently. Xing Chuan, build a manor next to Cloud Manor, Xiaoji said to the young man behind him. Okay. Xing Chuan nodded. Wang Jingyang was speechless. Can you let little Jiu out for dinner tonight? Xiaoji asked softly. Just give up. I won't call her. If she wants to, you can do it yourself, Wang Jingyang said. Xiaoji looked at Wang Jingyang and said softly, if you don't help me, then I'll tell little Jiu that everything in the M Nation was your idea, including the single running. Are you a scoundrel? What does this have to do with me? Did I ask you to be a loner? Wang Jingyang was stunned. Yes, said Xiaoji. Wang Jingyang, Cloud Manor, Wang Jingyang called while Lin Yan was stroking the cat. Doggy, are you crazy? It's so expensive to make an international call. Lin Yen answered the call. I'm back. I'll treat you to dinner tonight. You're back? You've only been gone for a few days. Why are you back so soon? You wastrel. The plane tickets were so expensive. Didn't you know how long you should stay? Lin Yen frowned. Lin Yen didn't dwell on it after she hung up. When Lin Yen arrived at the address that Wang Jingyang had sent her, she was taken aback. The hotel in front of her was the most high-end restaurant in the country. She hadn't noticed when Wang Jingyang had sent her the address. Wang Jingyang was treating her to dinner here? Just one meal was enough to make her bankrupt. Lin Yen couldn't help but recall the man called Xiao Ji in Country M. She would remember him for the rest of her life. He had promised to treat her to dinner at the most high-end restaurant, but he had run away when she was about to pay the bill. That meal had made her feel heartache until this day. End of this chapter. Chapter 1068. When Lin Yen had first arrived abroad, the first person she had met was Xiao Ji. She had to admit that Xiao Ji was indeed stunning. Not only was he good-looking, but he also had an elegant demeanor. However, who would have thought that Xiao Ji would be a retard? Lin Yen still remembered how difficult it had been for her to practice horizontal drifting. She had complained to Xiao Ji, but he had told her seriously that since it was so useless, she shouldn't waste her time. She should just change to another industry. She had even told him that a person's life was too short. Who would have thought that Xiao Ji would ask her to try and kill herself? The most exaggerated time was when Xiao Ji had treated her to the most expensive restaurant and ordered the most expensive food. In the end, she had learned the most expensive lesson. The person who had paid the bill had run away. She had told him more than once that he could just eat whatever he wanted. There was no need to spend so much money on food. Why did he have to spend millions on food? Wasn't that like having too much money but nowhere to spend it? Lin Yen finally understood now. No wonder he had spent so much money on food. After all, he was the one paying the bill. If Xiao Ji hadn't been so famous, rich and powerful, she would have run him over with her car. Lin Yen still couldn't understand why such a big shot would cheat her of her money. Perhaps that meal was nothing to him, but to her, it would cost her half her life. Lin Yen studied the restaurant in front of her suspiciously. Where did Doggy get so much money to treat her to a meal here? In a place like this, I'm afraid only the real rich can afford it, right? An ominous feeling rose in Lin Yan's heart. Was the pup trying to imitate that man? Lin Yan shook her head. Doggy wasn't that kind of person. If he was, she would beat him to death. He wouldn't dare. Miss, do you have a reservation? When Lin Yan stepped into the restaurant, someone blocked her way. I'm looking for someone, replied Lin Yan. Looking for someone? May I know who you are looking for? Or which floor? The 16th floor, replied Lin Yan. Are you looking for the 16th floor? Hearing this, the waiter in the suit frowned slightly. This restaurant had a total of 16 floors, and each floor only served one table of customers. The price of each floor was different, and the most expensive was the top floor. The young lady before him was dressed in ordinary clothes. No matter how he looked at it, it was impossible for her to have anything to do with the 16th floor. Sorry, can you wait a moment? We need to verify. May I know your name? Lin, replied Lin Yan. A moment later, the waiter walked out again and said softly, Miss Lin, I'm very sorry to have delayed your time. We have already verified it. Miss Lin, please follow me. Someone will take you to the 16th floor. When she reached the 16th floor, she couldn't help but sigh. It was an open-air panoramic view. At a glance, one could see the most beautiful scenery in the capital. The fragrance of flowers assailed his nostrils, making him feel relaxed and happy. Lin Yan. Suddenly, Wang Jingyang's voice came from the front. Lin Yan surveyed Wang Jingyang with narrowed eyes before she strode over. As she stared at the delicacies on the table, Lin Yan stared at Wang Jingyang. Did you rob a bank? Wang Jingyang glared at Lin Yan. Do you think I have the guts? Lin Yan nodded. You're right. What happened? Where did you get so much money? Do you know how much this meal cost? Lin Yan was puzzled. Chapter 1069. Wang Jingyang surveyed his surroundings for a moment before he glanced at Lin Yan guiltily. Lin Yan frowned when she noticed Wang Jingyang's unusual expression. Could it be that this fellow really has some tricks up his sleeves? Are you going to tell me or not? If not, I'm leaving, Lin Yan said warily. Wang Jingyang smiled sheepishly when he heard Lin Yan. He rubbed his nose and said softly, Hey, I don't have that much money to treat you to a meal here. Lin Yan was startled when she heard him. She glared at Wang Jingyang. Pup, don't court death. What's going on? Lin Yan knew that Wang Jingyang couldn't possibly have the money to spend at such a place. However, this floor had opened. Was he planning to dine and dash? However, Lin Yan didn't remember Wang Jingyang being so bold. Xiaoyan, actually, I have something to tell you. Wang Jingyang glanced at Lin Yan and chuckled softly. What is it? Asked Lin Yan. Nothing much. Do you still remember that we have an old friend? Wang Jingyang replied. Old friend? Lin Yan looked even more puzzled when she heard Wang Jingyang's words. Before Lin Yan could continue, a voice that made her hair stand on end rang out from behind her. Xiaoyan, long time no see. Xiao Ji slowly walked forward from the back with a soft smile on his face. When Lin Yan saw Xiao Ji, she froze on the spot. Lin Yan would never forget this face. It was etched in her heart and left a deep impression on her. Even if Xiao Ji turned into ashes, Lin Yan would still be able to recognize him. F***C. Instinctively Lin Yan's body trembled. She had never imagined that Xiao Ji would suddenly appear here. Xiao Ji and Wang Jingyang knew that Lin Yan still remembered when they saw her expression. Back then, Lin Yan had been involved in a car accident because of Pei Yuqing. After the car accident, Lin Yan had completely lost all her memories of Pei Yuqing. Coincidentally, Xiao Ji's younger brother, Xiao Yao, had also been present on the day of the accident. Hence, Lin Yan had lost all her memories of Xiao Yao. However, he still retained all his memories of Xiao Ji and had never forgotten a single thing. Lin Yan's brain seemed to have short-circuited as she stared at the man before her. After some time, she snapped back to her senses and forced an ugly smile. Lin Yan instinctively wanted to stay away from Xiao Ji, but she couldn't afford to offend her. Back then, Xiao Ji's name was well known abroad. He was rich, powerful, and powerful. Even though Lin Yan really wanted to beat him up, she could only force an ugly smile on her face. Mr. Xiao, why are you here? Lin Yan glanced at Xiao Ji and asked softly. Miss Lin Yan, you haven't seen an old friend in a long time. Don't you miss him? Xiao Ji grinned at Lin Yan. Lin Yan nodded and replied, yes, 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 yes. She wouldn't forget it even if she became a ghost. Then, Xiaoyan, let's get married. Xiao Ji gazed at Lin Yan intently. Both Lin Yan and Wang Jingyang were dumbfounded when they heard that. Marriage? Wang Jingyang stared at Xiao Ji in astonishment. Why would he say that? Mr. Xiao? Lin Yan was dumbfounded. What did you say? Xiao Ji chuckled softly. Let's get married. Chapter 1070. Initially, Lin Yan had been shocked when Xiao Ji had suddenly appeared in front of her. She hadn't snapped back to her senses yet. Then Xiao Ji had suddenly said, let's get married. Lin Yan was completely dumbfounded. For no reason at all, Guzi had treated her to the best restaurant in the capital city. Then Xiao Ji, whom she had been avoiding, had appeared at this restaurant. Not only that, but Xiao Ji had also wanted to marry her. Who was she? Where was she? Who could tell her what had happened? Lin Yan was stunned for a long time before her eyes landed on Xiao Ji again. She frowned and asked in confusion, Mr. Xiao, why did you suddenly say that? Or is there a misunderstanding between us? Back when they had been abroad, Lin Yan and Xiao Ji had had a good relationship and could be considered friends. However, after spending some time together, Lin Yan had realized that Xiao Ji's identity wasn't ordinary. In fact, Lin Yan still didn't know what kind of terrifying power Xiao Ji had overseas. Later on, Lin Yan realized that Xiao Ji wasn't suitable to be her friend. For example, there had been a time when she had a fever that was close to 40 degrees. Coincidentally, Xiao Ji had been there, so Lin Yan had asked Xiao Ji to buy some medicine. In the end, the man had told her that it was okay to have a fever of 40 degrees. She wouldn't die because her body was getting rid of the bacteria and it wasn't a big deal. Another time, when she had been chatting with Xiao Ji, she had said that life was too short. In the end, Xiao Ji had told her to die. Die once. There had been another time that she couldn't get over. Back then, she hadn't reached the top of the racing field and had been defeated by a famous racer. In the end, Xiao Ji had found out about this. Lin Yan had never expected that Xiao Ji would get someone to beat up the racer and buy over his team. He had even made the racer, whom Lin Yan admired, wash his toilet. After doing all this, Xiao Ji had actually come to ask her if she was surprised and happy. This wasn't a surprise. It was a shock. On the racing field, one had to rely on one's strength to speak. At that time she had been inferior, so she had nothing to say. However, Xiao Ji's actions were indeed incomprehensible. Xiao Ji was like a cloud of fog. You could never see through this man. Moreover, you could never know what he would do in the next second that was against common sense and shocking. Xiaoyan, are you willing to marry me? Xiaoji asked softly with a faint smile on his face. Lin Yin was speechless. Mr. Xiao, is there a misunderstanding between us? Why do you want to marry me so suddenly? Lin Yin glanced at Xiaoji in confusion. Suddenly? Xiaoji glanced at Lin Yin in confusion. Don't you like me? Lin Yin was speechless. Like him? How did he know that I like him? I asked you if you missed me but you didn't admit it. Since you missed me it means that you like me, and since you like me you naturally want to marry me. Xiaoji said matter-of-factly. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched when she heard Xiaoji. Wasn't this man's imagination a little too rich? Those were just his polite words just now, polite words, okay. Could it be that this man couldn't even tell the difference between polite words? Chapter 1071. Lin Yin suppressed the urge to punch him and forced a smile. Mr. Xiaoji, I think you have misunderstood. Actually, to be honest, I already have a boyfriend. Besides, my boyfriend? Lin Yin stared at Xiaoji intently. However, before she could finish her sentence, Xiaoji interjected nonchalantly, You have a boyfriend? It's okay. I won't see you again. Lin Yin was startled when she heard that. She didn't care? Even if he didn't care, she did. Actually, it's okay to have a boyfriend. Lovers can break up. Even if they get married, they can get a divorce. Two people aren't bound to each other. Xiaoji grinned at Lin Yin. Wang Jingyang glanced at Xiaoji with a conflicted expression. He really shouldn't have had any hope for this idiot with a low EQ. Even if he wanted to snatch little Jiu away from Pei Yuqing, he would have to do it slowly and find the right time. He had asked little Jiu to marry her the moment they had met and claimed that he didn't care if she had a boyfriend. This was simply hopeless. What sin did he commit to bring this man to Hua Nation? Xing Chuan, I heard that your master said that you have a high EQ. Are you here to help him plan? Wang Jingyang immediately pulled the young man aside and said softly. Xing Chuan nodded gently. Yes, sir. Don't call me sir. Just call me Wang Jingyang. Wang Jingyang looked around and said, I can't do anything about your master being like this. If you continue to let your master be like this, he can go back to where he came from. Understood, Xing Chuan replied softly. Xing Chuan walked over to Lin Yin and Xiaoji and grinned. Sir, it's been a long time since we last met. I'm sure you have a lot to talk about. The dishes are here. Why don't we talk while we eat? Xiaoji originally wanted to say something, but when Xing Chuan opened his mouth, he couldn't say what he wanted to say. Yes. Mr. Xiao, let's eat first. Lin Yin nodded repeatedly and glanced at Xing Chuan gratefully. How could she take it if they continued chatting? There were 3 reasons why Lin Yin didn't leave. The first reason was that Gou Zi was the one who called her over, so it wasn't appropriate for her to leave just like that. The second reason was that Xiaoji wasn't an ordinary person and couldn't be offended easily. The third reason was that when she was abroad, she had no friends except Wang Jingyang. Xiaoji was one of them and Xiaoji took good care of her at that time. If Xiaoji hadn't done a series of unimaginable things in the past, they would have been sworn brothers by now. Fortunately, she reined in her horse in the nick of time and did not continue to have a deep relationship with Xiaoji. Sir, Miss Lin has a boyfriend. I believe that with Miss Lin's eyesight she will not be wrong. You should bless Miss Lin, shouldn't you? Xing Chuan sat beside Xiaoji and said with a smile. Xiaoji pondered for a moment before he nodded and gazed at Lin Yin sincerely. Xiaoyan? Lin Yin grinned and was about to speak when Xiaoji interrupted her. I wish you a speedy breakup. Wang Jingyang, Lin Yin was speechless. Xing Chuan. Wang Jingyang subconsciously looked at Xiaoji and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. If Xiaoji had shared some of his IQ with his EQ, Pei Yuqing wouldn't have stood a chance back then. Chapter 1072. Wang Jingyang wiped the corners of his mouth. Could he go back on his word and bring Xiaoji back? Xing Chuan, who was sitting next to Xiaoji, chuckled as he gazed at Lin Yin. The corners of his mouth curled up, revealing his 2 canine teeth. Miss Lin, sir wishes you and your boyfriend to get married soon. Lin Yin frowned at Xing Chuan's words. Did he think she was a fool? Hadn't Xiaoji said that he wished her an early breakup? If you get married to your boyfriend, you will only have a husband and no boyfriend. That would be equivalent to breaking up with your boyfriend. Sir wishes for an early breakup, but what he means is for you and your boyfriend to get together as soon as possible. Xing Chuan chuckled softly. Wang Jingyang almost spat out the drink in his mouth. The man in front of him looked delicate and handsome, especially when he smiled. His 2 canine teeth were adorable as well. How could such a handsome boy who looked straightforward and bright, say such a thing against his conscience with such a natural expression? If he didn't know Xiaoji's EQ, he would have believed him. However, he had to admit that Xing Chuan was really good with his words. Miss Lin, sir, has been missing you all these years. He told us that he once had a female friend, but he lost contact with her. This has always been a regret in his heart. Since he was able to find you today, Miss Lin, he no longer has any regrets. He is especially happy and gratified to know that you have found a husband, Xing Chuan said softly to Lin Yan. Actually, I left because I had no choice. Lin Yan glanced at Xiaoji. Actually, she had left without saying goodbye. Sir said that you must have your reasons for leaving without saying goodbye. It's just that he hasn't heard from you for a long time. Not only does he miss you, but he's also very worried. He doesn't know if you're safe, Xing Chuan said. Xing Chuan sighed and added, actually, Sir's health hasn't been very good all these years. Lin Yan scrutinized Xiaoji from head to toe. Lin Yan's expression changed slightly. At this time, Xiaoji was sitting in a wheelchair. She hadn't noticed it before. Mr. Xiao, what happened to your legs? Lin Yan frowned. Xiaoji chuckled. Actually, it doesn't matter, because, before Xiaoji could finish his words, Wang Jingyang quickly stepped forward and covered Xiaoji's mouth. Hurry up, eat. This is delicious. You have to eat more. Don't you King talk. After saying that, Wang Jingyang picked up the food and hurriedly stuffed it into Xiaoji's mouth. Back then, when Sir heard that you were in a car accident, he was anxious and waited outside the hospital for several days. But at that time, Miss Lin seemed to have some misunderstanding towards Sir, so Sir simply waited outside the ward and did not show himself. After that, Miss Lin, you left America without saying goodbye. Sir was very afraid that Miss Lin would take things too hard or get into an accident, so he searched for you outside for a long time. After that, his health deteriorated. Xing Chuan sighed. Wang Jingyang secretly glanced at Xing Chuan. Xiaoji was right to bring him here with such EQ. Xing Chuan wasn't lying. Back then, Xiaoji had indeed waited outside the ward for a long time and searched for Lin Yan for a long time. However, it felt completely different when Xing Chuan said it. Chapter 1073. Lin Yan stared at Xiaoji in astonishment. His legs had become like this because of her? Mr. Xiao, did your legs become like this because of me? Lin Yan asked in disbelief. Of course not. Xiaoji chuckled softly. Mr. Xiao's legs have nothing to do with you, Miss Lin. You shouldn't feel guilty because of this. It's just that Mr. Xiao's obsession is very strong. I believe that your reunion with your old friend, Miss Lin, will resolve the knot in your heart. In the future, your body will slowly recover. Xing Chuan grinned. Mr. Xiao, even so, Lin Yan felt as though she had something to do with Xiaoji's predicament. She felt a little guilty. However, Lin Yan was still puzzled. When they had been abroad, she hadn't felt that Xiaoji had valued this friend of hers. Otherwise, how could he have said that he would let her die once? He had even cheated her of so much money. She had almost gone bankrupt. At the thought of this, Lin Yan was furious. However, after looking at Xiaoji and hearing what Xing Chuan had said, it seemed like she couldn't get angry at Xiaoji. Mr. Xiao, can your legs recover? Lin Yan frowned as she glanced at the man in the wheelchair, who looked slightly pale. If you're willing to help, there might be a chance. Xiaoji pondered it and chuckled softly. Me. Lin Yan was taken aback. Xing Chuan hurriedly said, what Mr. Xiao means is that if you stop hiding from him and keep in touch with him, the knot in his heart will be resolved and there will be hope for his body to recover. At this moment, Wang Jingyang looked at Xiaoji calmly. Given Xiaoji's current condition, even the Lin Yan of the past wouldn't have been able to come up with a good solution. His body had deteriorated completely. If Xiaoji's mental strength hadn't been so strong, his body would have collapsed completely. Mr. Xiao, why did you come to the country? Is there anything you want to do? Lin Yan asked softly. What I want to do the most. Xiaoji was slightly taken aback. Lin Yan nodded. I'm a little curious. I want to challenge the strongest person in the world. Even if I die in battle, it will be worth it. Xiaoji chuckled softly. Lin Yan was speechless. What nonsense was he talking about? Challenge the strongest person in the world? What does that mean? Ahem, Mr. means to say that the knot in his heart is that he will not retreat no matter how dangerous it is. Even if his body is not well now, he still wants to find a good friend like you, Miss Lin. That's why Mr. was able to find you, Miss Lin, Xing Chuan said. Lin Yan was speechless. Lin Yan looked doubtful when she heard Xing Chuan. Lin Yan's heart was filled with doubts. How could Xiaoji value his friend so much? Logically speaking, that shouldn't be the case. What kind of status did Xiaoji have? For Xiaoji, she was just an ordinary girl, an ordinary racer. Would the Order of the Firmaments treat her as their best friend? Chapter 1074. Wang Jingyang pinched Xiaoji's thigh hard. If looks could kill, Xiaoji would have been killed by Wang Jingyang 1,000 times. Could this fellow be saved? Xing Chuan had tried so hard to salvage the situation and make Xiaoyan's impression of him improve. However, he was beaten back to his original state immediately. Xiaoyan was in a car accident and her leg was injured. She needs to recuperate, Xiaoji said thoughtfully. Xing Chuan nodded hurriedly. Yes, that's what you meant. Wang Jingyang sighed heavily. It was too difficult for him. This meal made Wang Jingyang break out in a cold sweat. You never knew what shocking words Xiaoji would say in the next second. After dinner, Lin Yin bade farewell to Xiaoji and helped Wang Jingyang into her car. Lin Yin, don't be so polite. I can take a taxi back myself. You don't have to send me. Wang Jingyang broke out in a cold sweat when he saw Lin Yan's unfriendly expression. He looked guilty. Why did you bring him here? Lin Yin glanced at Wang Jingyang. Wang Jingyang jumped in fright when he heard Lin Yin. Xiaoyan, what do you mean by that? What do you mean I brought him here? Xiaoji coming to China has nothing to do with me. We're just on the same flight. He wants to treat me to a meal and asked me to invite you. This is very normal. Wang Jingyang's eyes rolled as he spoke. He had promised that he would never lie to her again, but this wasn't considered a lie. He and Xiaoji had indeed taken the same flight, and Xiaoji had indeed invited him to a meal. That was right. Is what you said true? Lin Yin glanced at Wang Jingyang suspiciously. Wang Jingyang nodded repeatedly. I swear to God that it's absolutely true. If I lied to you, I will die a horrible death. All right, that's what you said. Lin Yin nodded. That's what I said. Wang Jingyang grinned. What could she do to him? Should she call Xiaoji to clarify things? However, in the next second, Wang Jingyang's expression suddenly changed. Lin Yin whipped out her phone and dialed Xiaoji's number before putting it on speaker mode. Xiaoyan, what's up? Xiaoji's voice came from the phone. Mr. Xiao. It's nothing much. I just wanted to know how you ended up in the country. Lin Yin chuckled softly. On the side, Wang Jingyang pursed his lips. So what if he called Xiaoji? Would Xiaoji sell him out? Yes, Wang Jingyang brought me to you. I really should thank him. Xiaoji, Wang Jingyang secretly clenched his teeth. This evil creature, he definitely wouldn't let him off. After she hung up, her eyes riveted to Wang Jingyang. Wang Jingyang turned his head, looked out the window and whistled. Pup, turn around. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth curled up into a gentle smile. Yin, I suddenly remembered that the gas is still on at home. I have to go home and fill it up, Wang Jingyang said as he opened the car door. However, Lin Yin was quick enough to lock the door. Wang Jingyang furrowed his eyebrows and turned to stare at Lin Yin. Xiaoyan, you're too much. How dare you lock the car door in broad daylight? Even if you're lusting after my beauty, you shouldn't do it in broad daylight. *CK. Don't slap my face. Lin Yin pinched Wang Jingyang's left ear and sneered coldly. My pup's wings have finally hardened. Hold on. Wang Jingyang's eyes glinted coldly as he peered out of the car. Run. Wang Jingyang bellowed. Chapter 1075. Lin Yin was puzzled by Wang Jingyang's odd expression. Why did he run for no reason? What are you waiting for? Run. Wang Jingyang turned to Lin Yin when he noticed that she wasn't moving. Have you seen a ghost? Lin Yin was puzzled. Isn't it a ghost? Can you stop wasting time? As he spoke, Wang Jingyang quickly turned the steering wheel. She glanced at Wang Jingyang. I didn't step on the accelerator. Then hurry up and step on the gas pedal. Wang Jingyang yelled. Lin Yin stepped on the accelerator as soon as Wang Jingyang finished speaking. The car instantly started and rushed forward. Immediately, Wang Jingyang rolled down the window and stuck his head out to look. Do you want to die? Lin Yin grabbed Wang Jingyang's collar and pulled him back. Pup, what's going on? Did you lie to a young lady? Are you being pursued now? Lin Yin asked Wang Jingyang meaningfully. Hearing this, Wang Jingyang's face turned red. Nonsense. Who do you think I am? Only little girls would lie to me. Why would I lie to little girls? With my righteous looks? Forget it, now is not the time to talk about this. Instinctively, Lin Yin scanned the rearview mirror. She would have been fine if she hadn't seen it, but when she did, she was startled. In the rearview mirror, Lin Yan could vaguely see a shadow speeding towards her car. Doggy, a dog is chasing us. Lin Yan sounded startled. Wang Jingyang, is that AF asterisk king dog? That's AF asterisk king human. Wang Jingyang shouted. Human? Lin Yan was startled. He didn't look like a human at all. It's a high-level evolved human. Run faster. Wang Jingyang frowned. Lin Yan glanced at Wang Jingyang thoughtfully. Why do you know so much about evolved beings? Wang Jingyang was taken aback for a moment, then he smiled and said, You guys scared me half to death last time. Plus, Yin, you're an evolved person. Of course, I have to learn more about you. Really? Lin Yan was puzzled. Hearing this, Wang Jingyang sighed. Then, if I told you that I'm also an evolved person, would you believe me? Are you an evolved being? Lin Yan glanced at Wang Jingyang. Yes, I am an evolver. My evolution level and strength are dozens of dimensions higher than yours. Wang Jingyang smiled. Lin Yan sneered coldly. If you're an evolved being that's dozens of dimensions higher than me, I'm a god-level evolved being with a 100% brain development. Wang Jingyang, this time he didn't lie to her. If she didn't believe him, it couldn't be counted as a lie. Wait. Wang Jingyang looked out of the window. What's wrong? Lin Yan was puzzled. I don't think so, Wang Jingyang said thoughtfully. I think it's a black dog. Are you seeing things? Lin Yan glanced at Wang Jingyang. I hope so, Wang Jingyang said softly. Somewhere in the rear. The man had long white hair that reached his waist, and his eyes seemed to be moving like stars. As the man's eyes moved, a huge eye appeared in the void, as though it could see through all the mysteries of the world. Sir, are we not going to chase any more? A young girl stood behind the man and spoke respectfully. There's no need to rush. The man beside that woman is a little troublesome. There's still plenty of time. I want to see if that woman has anything I need. End of this chapter. Chapter 1076. After that strange meal, Lin Yan returned to Cloud Manor. Speaking of which, she seemed to have a lot of romantic partners recently, a few days after Ji Mingzhi Xiaoji had appeared. She had no idea what was going on, but her eyelids had been twitching, as though she had an ominous premonition. Oh, please don't screw up. No way, no way. Pei Yuqing was far away and he was so busy. He wouldn't know about this. Lin Yan shook her head and cleared her mind. Then she went to the bathroom to take a shower. She had to do a live stream later. Zhao Hongling felt that she hadn't interacted enough with her fans, so she had asked her to do a live stream and chat with her fans. At the same time, at the Pei family's headquarters, Pei Yuqing was flipping through some documents while Cheng Yimou was looking at his phone. He looked terrified as though he had seen something. Cheng Yimou peeked at his boss cautiously as he read the documents. Pei Yuqing, who sensed Cheng Mo's unusual behavior, asked casually, What's wrong? Pei Yuqing's sudden voice startled Cheng Yimou. He instinctively put his phone down. No. Nothing. Pei Yuqing raised his head and glanced at Cheng Mo's phone. Then he extended his hand to him. Cheng Yimou didn't dare reject him. He could only bite the bullet and hand the phone over. Then he took a few steps back and tried to stay as far away from Pei Yuqing as possible. Before Cheng Yimou could exit the page, Pei Yuqing saw a picture of his wife walking down the red carpet with someone else. The setting was exaggerated and the gowns they were wearing were gorgeous. Those who didn't know better would think that they were at a wedding. Cheng Mo's legs trembled in fear, and a layer of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Pei Yuqing's expression didn't change at all. He tapped on his phone and read all sorts of gossip. KNO's newest spokesperson Lin Yan. Lin Yan's real education is aerodynamics at MIT. KNO CEO Ji Mingzhi has confessed to Lin Yan, claiming that she is his first love, and KNO CEO has confessed that she can be KON's owner. Pei Yuqing's eyes trailed to the words boss of KNO as his other hand drummed rhythmically on the coffee table. Cheng Yimou swallowed his saliva and said carefully, That's how the entertainment industry is. They like to write nonsense. It should be because of this spokesperson. Do you want me to take down these rumors? Pei Yuqing returned the phone to Cheng Yimou. It's fine. Cheng Yimou was impressed. His boss had promised Lin Yan that he wouldn't interfere with her work, so he hadn't done so. He was indeed the boss who could remain calm even under such circumstances. As Cheng Yimou was lost in thought, Pei Yuqing, who had been fine earlier, suddenly lost consciousness and fainted on the couch. Boss Pei. Boss Pei. Cloud Manor. Lin Yan relaxed as she took a shower and applied a facial mask. Then she applied some light makeup. Then she removed her bathrobe and got ready to change. She opened her wardrobe and picked out a light-colored dress. Just as she was about to put it on, she suddenly felt an extremely familiar sensation. Lin Yan's hair stood on end as an ominous premonition filled her. Sure enough, before she could react, her vision went black. Her hand that was holding the dress suddenly lost its strength, and the dress fell onto the bed. A second later, she lost control of her body, and her consciousness seemed to float in the air. Chapter 1077. Lin Yin had already known that Pei Yuqing was the one who had possessed her, so she had been mentally prepared. But at this moment she really couldn't calm down at all. Because at this moment her body was almost naked, and she was only wearing her underwear. Lin Yin tried her best to return to her body. She had succeeded in the past. However, she failed this time. She couldn't go back no matter what. In the end, Lin Yin could only give up. She held on to a glimmer of hope and tried to talk to the consciousness that had taken control of her body. Pei Yuqing? Perhaps she was just out of her mind and it wasn't Pei Yuqing? The air was silent for a few seconds. Then her body replied in Pei Yuqing's voice. It's me. Lin Yin was instantly filled with despair. She was rendered speechless. Pei Yuqing, who hadn't expected this to happen, sounded a little awkward. Sorry. As soon as he finished speaking, he quickly waved his hand and pulled the skirt beside him. Lin Yin had chosen an open-neck dress that looked like a coat. She just needed to put it on with a belt. Pei Yuqing put it on quickly. Lin Yin wanted to cry but no tears came out. The person who had possessed her was a lecher or a vixen. After putting on her clothes, Lin Yin complained, "Didn't you promise me that you wouldn't possess me again?" Pei Yuqing had already regained his composure. "I'm sorry. However, there are some situations that I can't control." Lin Yin sobbed. "How could you do that? Under what circumstances would you not be able to control yourself?" Pei Yuqing replied, "When I miss you, I might be disturbed or stimulated by some external force." Lin Yin was puzzled. "What do you mean by external force? For example?" Pei Yuqing replied, "For example, jealousy." Lin Yin was stunned. At the same time, Lin Yin suddenly felt guilty. Could Pei Yuqing have found out something? Not long ago, Ji Mingzhi had confessed to her in front of everyone. Now Xiao Ji had appeared, which made her tremble in fear. Pei Yuqing didn't know what it was. He picked up a towel to dry Lin Yan's hair as he asked, "How did the two of you meet?" Lin Yan couldn't control her emotions under such circumstances. Without thinking she replied, "Air." "Which one are you referring to?" Pei Yuqing's fingers paused as he asked softly, "It seems like there's more than one?" If Lin Yan had been in her own body, she would have slapped herself. *CK. Who would betray themselves like that? Lin Yan felt like dying. She tried her best to control her consciousness so that it wouldn't fly around. "Well, there are indeed two of them, but it really has nothing to do with me. I don't even remember who the first one is. At the press conference, he suddenly said that I was his first love and even confessed to me. I was also dumbfounded. The other one is a guy with a mental problem. I don't think anyone with a normal brain would fall in love with him. Is that so?" Pei Yuqing paused for a moment before he replied casually, "That better be the case. Otherwise, I'm afraid there will be trouble." Lin Yan was puzzled. "Huh? What trouble?" Pei Yuqing replied casually, "I've said that my consciousness is occasionally out of my control. If you're with another man, I might possess your body at an inopportune time." He continued to write. There would be more kisses later. End of this chapter. Chapter 1078. Lin Yan's brain crashed when she heard Pei Yuqing's words. All sorts of images flashed through her mind. She tried to imagine what would happen if she was with another man. What if Pei Yuqing suddenly appeared when they were doing something intimate? What would happen? She couldn't imagine it at all. Lin Yan was scared out of her wits. That's impossible. I would never fall for someone else. Pei Yuqing seemed to like the girl's words. His voice softened as he said, "I'll probably be back tomorrow. Do you miss me?" Lin Yan hurriedly tried to flatter him. "Of course I do. I really do." "How many times have you missed me?" Pei Yuqing clearly didn't believe her. It was good enough that she would think of him once when she was busy. Lin Yan, who had activated her survival instinct, replied without hesitation, "I missed you once. For 24 hours at a time." Ah. Pei Yuqing chuckled softly as he listened to the girl's sweet words. Lin Yan's heart melted at her own voice. After Pei Yuqing blow-dried her hair, Lin Yan waited for a long time, but it didn't return to her body. She couldn't help but ask, "When are you leaving?" Don't misunderstand. I'm not chasing you away. I just have work to do tonight. Do you need help? Do you need help? Asked Pei Yuqing. No, there's no need. I don't need help. Lin Yin rejected him hastily. She was glad that she hadn't accepted any help tonight. Lin Yin explained, I have to do a live stream with my fans tonight. Pei Yuqing asked, a live stream? Yeah, it will start at 8 p.m. The official announcement has already been made, so I can't change the time. If I stand up, Sister Ling will scold me. It's already 7:50 p.m. It will start in 10 minutes. What should I do? Lin Yin sounded anxious. Suddenly Lin Yin thought of something and asked tentatively, Pei Yuqing, do you know how to do a live stream? Why don't you help me? Anyway, no one will know that I have a new heart in my body. I don't know, but I can try. Teach me, said Pei Yuqing. Alright then. I guess that's the only way. Lin Yin didn't have time to think. She hurriedly taught Pei Yuqing how to do the live stream. She had already prepared the platform for the live stream. You can't edit the live stream, so you have to watch what you say later. Take a look at this document. Sister Ling gave it to me. There are some topics that you shouldn't talk about. Take a look, alright. Also, if the fans bring up any sensitive issues such as, my relationship with other actors or partners, just be vague about it. Lin Yin knew that the incident had blown up a few days ago, so the fans would definitely bring up this issue. Hence, she had no choice but to inform him in advance. Sure. It's more relaxing to broadcast at home. Later, just chat with your fans casually and answer their bullet screen questions. Don't say a word without saying a word. 10 minutes passed in a blink of an eye, and the live stream began. Pei Yuqing pressed the start button and appeared on the livestream screen. Zhao Hongling had already started the live stream, so a huge number of fans swarmed in immediately. Ah! Honey, you're finally streaming. Honey, you're so beautiful. Honey, look at me. Honey, you're finally streaming. Pei Yuqing raised his eyebrows as he studied the images of his wives on the screen. His tone was playful. What? This was an ordinary and subtle gesture, but it was full of charm when he did it. The fans who were watching the live stream went crazy. Oh my god. Lin Yan's gaze was so cool. She was so cool. That's right. You're my wife. I'll only marry you in this lifetime. Lin Yan looked at the comments awkwardly and hurriedly explained to Pei Yuqing, it's just a fan's nickname. I see. Pei Yuqing nodded and greeted his fans. Hello. Pei Yuqing didn't look like this was the first time he had done a live stream. He looked relaxed and calm. Although he was using Lin Yan's body, his domineering aura couldn't be concealed at all. His fans were cheering excitedly. Why is my baby so cool today? She's like a domineering president, Lin Pianruo. I love you so much. I don't want you to be my wife anymore. Be my father. Chapter 1079. She had no idea who had started it, but all the fans had started addressing Lin Yan as Daddy. Lin Yan stared at the screen filled with the words Daddy in disbelief. Pei Yuqing had merely shown up and greeted them. How had he elevated her seniority to that of a father? Daddy, why is there an 8 trigrams mirror behind you? There seems to be a string of garlic? Lin Yan's back stiffened when she read the comments. She hadn't even cleaned up the house. How was she going to explain this? It's a personal hobby, Pei Yuqing replied calmly, as though he was saying that the weather was good today. The viewers burst into laughter when they heard Lin Yan's reply. This hobby is so funny. Ha. Daddy, my family sells garlic. If you like it, I will buy all your garlic for the rest of your life. My grandfather is a Taoist priest. Daddy, what else do you like? I will get it for you. Lin Yan was speechless as she read the comments. Alright, that was a reasonable explanation. It was better than telling the truth. Lin Yan comforted herself. Daddy, where do you live? It looks so luxurious. I think I can see Breeze Mountain. That area is full of luxurious houses and they are priceless. Everyone who lives there is a big shot. Daddy, where do you live? Seriously? It was pitch black and there was only a slit in the curtains. How could he tell? Are the netizens all so observant? Pei Yuqing replied, sorry, it's a private residence. Pei Yuqing evaded the question ambiguously, and the fans were considerate enough not to probe further. Ah, baby, your lipstick looks so good today. I'm begging for a lipstick. Is there anyone who knows? Lin Yan read the comments and hurriedly wanted to remind Pei Yuqing how to answer them. Before she could do so, Pei Yuqing answered a fan's question. Nature Hall's 520 Poetry Lipstick and 502 Cinnamon Nude. Lin Yan was taken aback when she heard Pei Yuqing's precise description of her lipstick. How did Pei Yuqing know this? Pei Yuqing's fans bombarded the screen with comments. I also bought this one. It's a very gentle color number. The other two colors in this gift box, 302 karat color and 70 China red, are also very nice. The packaging of this set of lipsticks is very exquisite. It's very suitable for girls. Bye. I'm going to eat this wave of grass. Lin Yan noticed that everyone's reaction was pretty good, so she told Pei Yuqing, Sister Ling said that I can use some gifts for the lucky draw. I have a new set of lipsticks in my drawer. Pei Yuqing's eyes narrowed. As the live stream was on, he couldn't speak or communicate with Lin Yan. He could read Lin Yan's consciousness, but Lin Yan couldn't read his. Pei Yuqing whipped out a pen and wrote on the notebook. This looks like a 520 Valentine's Day gift. Who bought it for you? Lin Yan read Pei Yuqing's question and replied, No one. I bought it myself. Pei Yuqing sighed heavily as he continued to write. Miss Lin, you seem to forget that you have a boyfriend. Chapter 1080. Lin Yan muttered under her breath, Who said that lipstick has to be given to me by my boyfriend? Pei Yuqing sighed softly, looking rather helpless. The fans could only see Lin Yan writing and drawing, but they didn't know what she was writing. Hence they were curious. Everyone was about to ask more questions when Pei Yuqing took out the lipstick and said that he would be giving away a set of it for the lucky draw. Thus, the fans' attention was diverted. The exquisite design of the retro red gift box had the words, Love doesn't know where it started, but it goes deep. It was a very romantic design, and the three dazzling lipsticks were all in the shape of a shiny heart. They were very beautiful. The fans began to comment furiously on the screen. Pei Yuqing scanned the screen and selected a fan with the ID, I bet that Lin Yan is the lady boss of JM Corporation. Lin Yan was shocked when she saw this ID. Friend, you're really a living god. Bet that she was the lady boss of JM Corporation? How dare she even think about it? Pei Yuqing had chosen this ID instead of anyone else. What was he trying to do? This eye-opening ID successfully caused a heated discussion among the fans in the live broadcast room. Ha. This fan's ID is too much. How dare she bet on this? I bet that Lin Yan is the lady boss of KNO. I bet 1 yuan. Daddy, are you really going to be the lady boss of KNO? Finally, in the end, Lin Yan was still faced with this question. Pei Yuqing leaned back in his chair and faced the camera. He tapped his fingers on the armrest as he said, I hope that no one will believe in rumors. Lin Yan coughed and coughed. What the F***ck did he mean by saying that? The fans were amused by Lin Yan's words. Although Lin Yan had denied it, she had used a tactful and acceptable method. After all, she had just worked with KNO, so it wasn't appropriate for her to make things look ugly. Lin Yan was impressed by her PR skills and answers. After Lin Yan answered every question, the fans suddenly let loose and started asking questions. Daddy, what's your relationship with Pei Nanshu? I really think that the two of you are a good match. There have been rumors about the two of you. Everyone says that Mr. Pei took special care of you in the company. Dad, there are rumors that you and Xin Xiaomu are dating. Is that true? It can't be Han Yishuan, right? In the past, I thought that Lin Yan was the one who threw herself at Han Yishuan. However, based on Lin Yan's looks, why do I feel that there's something going on between them? Why are they all asking about Ji Mingzhi, Xin Xiaomu, and Han Yishuan? Does Wei Shufeng not deserve a name? Lin Yan couldn't even look at the comments anymore. How was this a live broadcast? It was practically an execution ground. Lin Yan stared at the faint smile on her face and felt a chill run down her spine. The corners of Pei Yuqing's mouth curled upwards as he chuckled softly. Since everyone is so concerned about this, I would like to tell you which family I belong to. Even Lin Yan was scared out of her wits when she heard him. Holy shit. Boss, calm down. Don't tell me you're going to blow yourself up. This was a live broadcast. A live broadcast with tens of millions of viewers. Daddy, what do you mean? What do you mean by tell us? Which family are you? What did I just hear? No way. Daddy, are you going to blow yourself up? Daddy, are you going to make an official announcement? La. It's almost 520. Is everyone satisfied with today's PDA? I wish everyone a happy 520. I'm going to give everyone a small bonus. Pick one of your babies from the comments and you will receive a gift box of Nature Hall's 520 Poetry Lipstick. This gift box is currently in pre-sale. Once it's shipped, I will mail it out from Tmall's flagship store. Then this chapter will draw 10 more pets, and each of them will receive 520 book coins. The system is set to automatically distribute the coins, and the 520 book coins will be drawn. End of this chapter. Chapter 1081. Since everyone is so concerned about this, I would like to tell you which family I belong to. Lin Yin was scared out of her wits when she heard his words. Okay, that wasn't right. She was scared out of her wits. Daddy. Calm down. Lin Yin was so agitated that she started to call Pei Yuqing Daddy. Don't expose yourself. This is a live stream. Please, Daddy. The worst decision she had ever made was to let Pei Yuqing live stream her. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have taken the risk even if she had to stand her fans up. Pei Yuqing had possessed her and asked her out. He had cooked for her and bought her a birthday present. That was enough to change her perception of herself. Never in her wildest dreams did she expect that he would be able to manipulate her to such an extent that she was forced to expose herself. Pei Yuqing, you promised me. Lin Yin cried out anxiously. Pei Yuqing's smile was still terrifying, but it didn't reach his eyes. He wrote on the piece of paper. Pei Yuqing was the one who promised you. In a sense, I didn't go back on my word. Lin Yin was speechless. Big brother, make it simple. The way to fall in love was simple. She couldn't take it anymore. Lin Yin was stunned by Pei Yuqing's words. Big brother, you can't do this. While Lin Yin was communicating with Pei Yuqing, the comment section was exploding. Her other phone kept ringing. It was a call from Zhao Hongling. She didn't need to check to know that Zhao Hongling was going to scold her. Lin Yin tried her best to return to her body. She swore that she had never felt so strong before. However, it was useless this time. She couldn't return to her body at all. It was as though she was being suppressed by an invisible force. Lin Yin replied, you promised that you wouldn't possess me again. Then you said that you couldn't control yourself. What about now? You can't control yourself as well? She could clearly feel that her consciousness was being suppressed. It couldn't be an illusion. Pei Yuqing's words were forceful and forceful. Not now. Now it's my subjective will. In other words, it was his handwriting that didn't want to leave. Lin Yin was infuriated by Pei Yuqing's matter-of-fact attitude. Pei Yuqing. Just as Lin Yin was about to lose her consciousness, Pei Yuqing removed his earpiece. After taking off the headset, his words could not be heard clearly in the live broadcast room. Then Pei Yuqing spoke lazily to Lin Yin, who was fuming with rage in his mind. His voice was as deep as a cello's. If Miss Lin is willing to call me husband, I can consider it. Lin Yin was speechless. What? Lin Yin was a straightforward girl, so she hated being coy. Hence, when she had addressed Pei Yuqing as Mr. Payne and Miss Lin, she had felt comfortable interacting with him. Even the slightest bit of intimacy would make her feel uncomfortable. For example, Lin Shuya could call Han Yishuan Big Brother Yishuan, but she would never call him Big Brother. The only thing she could accept was a name. So, for her to call him her hubby, such a cheesy title, what kind of joke was this? Lin Yin got goosebumps just thinking about it. Lin Yin replied, are you kidding me? Even if my brain was crushed by Pei Yutang's car, I would never call him that. Chapter 1082. Pei Yuqing listened helplessly to the girl's words. Although he had lost his memory, he hadn't changed at all. He was just exercising his legitimate rights. As soon as he removed his earpiece, the live stream room exploded with activity. Why did Sister Yen remove her earpiece? What happened? Daddy seemed to have said something. His expression was superb. What did Lin Yen say? I'm so curious. Does anyone know how to read lips? Judging from the shape of his mouth, he seems to be saying, call me, or something. Lin Yan's heart was pounding as she read the comments. The netizens were too smart. Could someone really have figured it out? The atmosphere in the live broadcast room was very lively. Suddenly, the special effect of 10 consecutive rockets flashed. The big screen showed that Kano, Sun and Moon Yuch had rewarded you with a rocket. Rockets were the biggest gift. Unless one was a tycoon, no one would gift anyone. The fact that this person had sent 10 rockets in a row instantly caught the attention of the fans. Wow. 10 rockets. Where did this tycoon come from? Kano, Sun and Moon belong to you? What did I discover? Also, isn't the Sun and Moon the same as the word Ming? Oh, Ming. Kano's president, Ji Mingzhi? Aha. That's right. It must be him. This hint is obvious. Aha. This isn't a hint. It's obvious. While the fans were gossiping, the ID posted a message. Thank you, everyone, for supporting Lin Yan's live stream. Initially, everyone had been guessing. However, the moment this message appeared, it was confirmed. Wow. It's really President G. The boss is spoiling her too much. He personally came to the live stream to support her. I'm so jealous. I suddenly feel a little cute. What's wrong with this couple? A straight-A couple is indeed cute. Plus it's a pure school love. Pei Yuqing narrowed his eyes as he glanced at the screen. Kano's sun and moon belong to Yuke was replying to the netizens' comments. Lin Yen is my junior Kano's business partner and I love her. Of course I have to support her. Little Yen is indeed my first love. It's a pity that little Yen doesn't seem to remember me anymore. But it doesn't matter. From now on she can get to know me again. Are they a good match? I think so too. Thank you all for thinking this way. You guys have good taste, haha. As Ji Mingzhi commented, he sent more than a dozen rockets to Lin Yan's fans. He looked as though he was declaring his ownership. Lin Yan was mesmerized by the overwhelming number of rockets. It took her a long time to snap out of her daze, and a sense of danger welled up in her heart. She glanced at Pei Yuqing on the screen and had a bad feeling about this. Ji Mingzhi was still courting death at a time like this. A netizen asked, "You're the president of KNO. Do you really intend to marry Lin Yan and make her the boss of KNO?" KNO's bright moon is yours replied, "I've said that as long as she agrees she can become the boss of KNO at any time. My words will always be valid." Pei Yuqing was about to be cuckolded by his love rival. Pei Yuqing chuckled softly. Lin Yan's hair stood on end when she heard his chuckle. A second later, Pei Yuqing said softly, "Is this Mr. Ji?" Ji Mingzhi replied excitedly, "Little Yan, I'm here." The comments section was filled with excitement as they gossiped about what Lin Yan was about to say. Wow. Is my cute CP going to send candy? Lin Yan, who sensed that something was amiss, felt so nervous that she was about to explode. Pei Yuqing. Are you serious? Pei Yuqing paused and looked nonchalant. Mr. Ji, I think there's something I should make clear to you. Lin Yan was speechless. Pei Yuqing replied, "This is a question that everyone is concerned about." Lin Yan was speechless. Pei Yuqing replied, "It's about whose boss I am." Lin Yan yelled, "Hubby?" Pei Yuqing was speechless. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.